Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what they blow.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
Television gathers the world again. The International Emmy Award is an award bestowed by the International Academy of Television Arts and Sciences in recognition to the best television programs initially produced and aired outside the United States. The awards are presented at the International Emmy Awards Gala held annually in November in New York City. It attracts over 1,200 television professionals. The first International Emmys ceremony was held in 1973, expanding what was originally a U.S.-only Emmy Award. The International Academy of Television Arts and Sciences announced the winners of the 49th International Emmy Awards at an in-person gala event in New York City. The gala was attended by television chief executives and professionals from around the world, including Atlantic Television Network's chairman, Dr. Chinyere Igwe, and was hosted by Nigerian-born American actress and comedian Yvonne Orji at the Great Hall of Casa Cipriani. International President and CEO of the Academy, Bruce Paisner, declared that we are delighted to be able to gather the global television community in person again in New York to celebrate the world's best television. The diversity and geographic spread of the winners demonstrates once again the universal power of great storytelling and performances.
I would also like to thank the Academy and everyone on the team who worked so hard to make this event possible. It's a great event, and we're so glad to be back at this event in person. We truly live in amazing times, and I want to explain in 2 quick sentences why I believe we live in amazing times.
The latest of the awards was the 49th edition, the International Emmy Awards 49th ceremony, which took place on November 22, 2021 at Casa Cipriani in New York City. It's open for all categories December 9, 2020 and closed February 17, 2021. It recognizes excellence in television programs produced and aired outside the U.S. and non-English language U.S. primetime program between the dates of January 1, 2020 and December 31st, 2020. The nominations were announced on September 23rd, 2020 with 44 nominees across 11 categories, spanning a record number of 24 countries. 1 special award and 11 Emmy statues were presented by the International Academy during the evening. The 11 winnings in the 2021 International Emmy programs and performances span 8 countries of France, Israel, New Zealand, Norway, People's Republic of China, Thailand, the UK, and the US. The 2021 winners of International Emmy Awards are Best Actor, David Tennant as Dennis Nielsen in Des, United Kingdom, New Pictures ITV. Best Actress, Hailey Squares as Jolene Dollar in Adult Material, United Kingdom, 50 Fathoms, Channel 4. Best Drama Series, Tehran, Israel, Donna and Shula Productions, Paper Plane Productions. Best Comedy Series, Call My Agent, Season 4, France, France Television's Netflix. Best TV Movie or Miniseries, Atlantic Crossing, Norway, Better Film, NRK. Des, United Kingdom, New Pictures ITV. Best Arts Programming, Kubrick by Kubrick, France. Best Documentary, Hope Frozen, A Quest to Live Twice, Thailand. 2050 Productions, Netflix. Best Telenovela, The Song of Glory, China. Tencent Video, Oasis Studio. Short form series, Inside, New Zealand. Best non-scripted entertainment, The Masked Singer, United Kingdom. Bandicoots, Scotland, ITV. Best non-English language US primetime program, 21st Annual Latin Grammy Awards, United States, the Latin Recording Academy, Univision. Multiple wins by country, United Kingdom 3, France 2. Multiple wins by network, Netflix 2, ITV 2. This year's ceremony was hosted by Yvonne Orji, and she lived up to her billings alongside a cast of presenters including Vanessa Williams, Method Man, Joshua Jackson, Brian Cox, Piper Perabo, Daniel Monet Truitt, Chike Okonkwo, Aidan Quinn, Brian R.C. James, Emerald Tobia, Luciana Hawk, Felipe Santana, Henning Baum, and Angelica. Former NBA star Dirk Nowitzki presented the Directorate Award to Thomas Bellew, Managing Director of German public broadcaster ZDF. The award gala was, however, live-streamed on the International Academy's website, ime.tv, from ATN Blowout. It's a beautiful Monday morning, and of course, it's our time to provide you with a syndicated live program of the network featuring newscasting and conversation on special interest topics, news and event stories through our correspondent reports, and of course opinion by our stakeholders. Now, these are the issues we'll be discussing today on ATN Blowout. First, we'll be looking at insecurity. Papa Deboye said, "I never asked Christians to go buy guns." And the road to 2023, Okowa exerts his VP position, calls on party faithfuls support. And we're going back to Ondo State again today. Police rescue 77 church members locked in underground facility. And we have an issue on 2023 presidency where Igbo's only chance to be president or vice is with the NNPP. This is according to Okwankwaso. And towards 2023, thousands of Katsina State APC members are allegedly said to have defected to the PDP. And an amnesty program, presidential amnesty program, contractor diverts ex-agitators training funds. This promises to be an interesting morning. We have Stephen Digbara, a social-political analyst. We have Fine Face Dunamene, a public affairs analyst, joining us on the show. But then let me get you to meet our very own Ade. Ade, good morning.
Good morning, Vivian. It's a wonderful day to be alive and be here.
How was your weekend? I'm good.
Well, I had a blast weekend, most especially having to welcome the PDP Jagaban back into the States. So his arrival was more like what made it the weekend for me.
Yeah, now, talking about PDP Jagaban, there's been several issues around. If you guys are wondering who is PDP Jagaban is His Excellency Nyesom Wike, the River State Governor. And of course, this tag was given to him by Atiku via his spokesperson. Right?
Exactly, that's true.
So now talking about PDP Jagaban, there's something very curious around Nyesom Wike right now. On one hand, Tinubu is saying, I had a fruitful meeting with Nyesom Wike. On the other hand, you have the likes of Atiku acting like all is well yonder. Bring it back to the Niger Delta. Okowa is exerting his VP position. You guys are talking about Nyesom Wike. I'm not interested in that conversation. He's basically said, I'm interested in moving on. There is a job that needs to be done. There is a mission we have to achieve it. So who is on board with me? So he's literally coming from the other side. I don't think, did you ever expect that from Okowa at any point to?
I never envisaged that, especially looking at the event that trailed us last week, where the PDP said they needed to make out some sort of reconciliation with Nyesom Wike. Right now, for what Okowa has done, I see it as being too fast.
Yes, think so.
Being too fast.
Well, his position is being threatened here.
I don't really think it's being threatened because there's no way that position would have been denied him with what we are seeing right now. What can only happen is a reconciliation in the PDP and moving forward. You know, the party faithfuls and members, they say, okay, Nyesom Wike is ours, let's take him, let's absorb him.
Okay, you said Okowa's position is not being threatened. What if, as it turns out that if there's a chance for them to, change their VP, and Atiku is now forced by the party to say, because already from Fayoshe to just name them Governor Autumn, they are already indicating that if Wike goes, we go. Wherever he goes, we go. So what if now, in order to save the party and give him a shot at the presidency, Atiku is now forced to say, okay, Nyesom Wike, here is the presidency, have your way.
I mean, that would be what Nyesom Wike might not want to take.
Why? I mean, so what's the goal?
So far, so good. So far, so good. You know, a lot has trailed that particular issue, and he's one man that doesn't like going back to what he's left behind. Say, oh, because they've been forced, because they've been pressured.
Leave it behind?
He left it behind because
it wasn't offered to him. No, leaving it behind is okay. We offered you this thing. You took it. You decide not to take it. We didn't decide not to take it. So I think if the offer is open, he should have it. Look at it clearly. Number one, he's saying he was supposed to be the VP based on the party.
Yes, based on the merit of Win.
The committee who made the choice for the vice president. Atiku turned it down from what we read in the news, and then afterwards they went back to saying, okay, if this is what you want, no troubles, we'll let go. But Wike doesn't seem to be finding that one, because since Okowa was chosen, he hasn't come out to say anything to that effect. He hasn't come out to say, It's fine, guys. Let it go. I mean, it's what it is. It's party issues. Let's leave it at that. The party has decided. Atiku has the right to choose his vice president. He has chosen that. Let's work for the PDP. Because in the crisis now, a lot of them are concerned that he may leave the PDP, and that becomes the major. So if push comes to shove, while Okowa is trying to exact his, if push comes to shove, and they decide to say, in order to break this party apart, to avoid marked exodus of
PDP members?
The campees, yes. Let's fix this. Give this to Yesu Wike. We don't see a chance that may be a possibility.
I think I'll give it to you, Vivian, there, because it seems as if the actions of Governor Yesu Wike is speaking louder than his words. Like you said, so far, he has not made any comments concerning Okowa's choice as the VP to Atiku. However, some actions are very indicative, and that is why we can see an influx of people into his residence trying to reconcile with him, knowing
and
that
other party members coming to
exactly, knowing the kind of tenacity Wike bears in the party. And so far so good. If we want to look at it critically, I would say what the achievements people like Atiku had gotten over the years, Wike's landmark achievement has undone it.
Okay, let's bring this to bear. We have been looking at Wike, the strong party man, this, that. Okay, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But let's look at something really, really interesting in all of this now, and that's this. There are about 6 Niger Delta states. If I'm not, no, sorry, not PDP states.
Okay, PDP states.
It's more than 6 in the Niger Delta, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, but we have
Rivers.
We have Edo. No, not Lagos. We have
Rivers.
Okay, we have Edo. We have Bayelsa. We have Rivers. We have Akwa Ibom.
Exactly.
We have what is it called now? We have Calabar. Now these are the 6 states down the south. In the 6 states down south, let's go back to Edo again. He has a major fallout with Obasike, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Let's come back to Bayelsa. Does Bayelsa have this power to pull the votes that will give Wike the credibility of being a PDP Jagaban?
I don't think so.
River State right now. Let's come back to that as the third. Let's come back to River State. In River State, you have issues that nobody wants to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it on Blowout. I mean, it's Blowout anyway, so
it is.
I'm going to talk about it. Now, we have issues that Wike doesn't want to, people don't want to talk about, and one of these issues, I'm going to bring it to bear. Remember how he dissolved his cabinet? Remember how there are a lot of aggrieved party members, we're still in River State now, how there are aggrieved party members, PDP members in River State, how he made promises to people that they are going to be the, they are going to be he's going to give them the governorship ticket. He failed to do that. He didn't do that. Number two, I'm calling he has fallout with major PDP stakeholders in the state. That's not even counting Uche Secondus. I'm talking about people who were in his cabinet, who supported him all through his 8 years governorship, as made enemies against Amechi just for Yesu Wike. There are so many. So even in River State now, like we've counted Edo states, one. PDP, the PDP's here, but Bayelsa doesn't even have the permutation to drive home a Jagaban of PDP if he has influence. I'm looking at where he should have influence. I'm looking at the South State. So we're taking it to go back to Rivers again. So a PDP in Rivers State, I'm not even one to start with. There are a lot of aggrieved members. A lot of them feel insulted, feel deceived. There are too many issues that we're not even talking about. So he doesn't even have his house in River State put together. So if we're not looking at it like, oh, PDP, Jagaban, PDP. So we're looking at, he doesn't have 2 states now. He can't boast of Rivers. Because Amechi wants to play politics, or Dumo wants to play politics, and all these other guys want to play politics. They're going to use money or find a way to buy these people over. But let's leave that now. So he has just 1 state he can say, okay, these people are supporting me. But remember, Bayelsa State is not just about Governor Diodere.
That's true.
There are other major stakeholders. Timi Silva is there, and so many of them. Now let's come back to So he can't even say he owns Bayelsa votes. He's going to get a block vote from Bayelsa. He can't say that for Edo State. He can't say that for River State as it is, except there's a way he's going to like try to, pay back these people to make them happy.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Sorry, because
Okay.
when you could talk about PDP, yes, let's also go to some of these issues. Now, let's go back to Akwa Ibom. What is his relationship with Udom Emmanuel? How much influence does he have? Oh, Ben Ayade, who said he's left the PDP because of... So, where is the PDP Jagaban? I think why Okowa is exerting himself, this is what I think. I'm coming back to you quickly. So we can need to also look back and ask himself, have I gotten it right, at least from the home base?
Well, that's a critical question that the governor, Nyesom Wike, needs to have examined and asked himself over time. If you go to the east as it is, let's remove it outside the ambit of the states that are controlled by the PDP. Nyesom Wike has this popularity. There's a certain thing about his person that people just seem to stick with.
He had that with Tambua.
Exactly. However,
how did it turn out?
Well, the result is out there. However, talking about putting his house in order, we saw what played out that led to the emergence of Similaye Fubara, and how the party has been operating with a certain faction on the other side of Magnus Abe and some other persons being aggrieved that Nyesom Wike did not
APC.
in the PDP. Right?
This is of the
Oh,
APC.
pardon me. People were aggrieved that, Nyesom Wike did not give them the...
Let's not mention their names.
Okay. Did not give them the ticket to the governorship candidate and the rest of that. So within the PDP in Rivers State, there is so much divergency. There's so much disagreement. So I think you are right when you said he is here to put his house in order. And that is why, in fact, that can be one of the reasons why what happened at the National happened.
Because we were told it was his people that betrayed him. All right, let's go. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll get into our first story for today. We will be having that with focus on Papa Adeboye. I never asked Christians to go, and we'll be right back. Making the difference in our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields and serve as role models today. ATN Icons, showing every Sunday 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes DTH channel 194, ATN Live on Google App Store, Facebook Atlantic Television Network, YouTube Atlantic Television Network, Instagram Atlantic TV Network, Twitter Atlantic TV Net. For sponsorship 0810-634-1777. ATN Icons, celebrating the giants of our time.
The people, the candidates, the party, the campaigns. What really makes an election here? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics. 2023 elections. Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, channel 194, or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Elections 2023 from Mondays to Fridays at 8 p.m. Election 2023. We the people have a stake.
from the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
you human trafficker.
Honorable they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
you back. Are you still on ATN Blowout this beautiful Monday morning? And we've been talking about PDP Jagaban. And that's His Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. But right about now, we're going into our first story for today. But before that, let's get to meet our first resource person, and that's the person of a public affair analyst and environmentalist par excellence. That's Fine Face Dunamene. Good to have you on ATN Blowout.
Thank you. Nice being here.
Thank you very much. All right, our first story for this morning quickly. I never asked Christians to go and buy guns. This is according to Papa Adeboye of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. Now, he's the General Overseer, Papa Enoch Adeboye, have come out to clarify his July Holy Ghost service on July 2nd statement on insecurity. Recall that Pastor Adeboye had urged his members not to be afraid of terrorists, referring to the War Church massacre, where terrorists attacked St. Francis Catholic Church on June 5th, killing more than 40 worshippers and injuring many others. Adeboye urged Christians to rise to the occasion and call the bluff of the devil. However, media reports have misconstrued his position to mean a call for Christians to own a gun. He said, "I never asked Christians to go and buy guns. Samson and the Bible did not fight with guns," the renowned cleric said on Sunday at the monthly Thanksgiving live television program of the church. The clarification came against media reports that the General Overseer said it was now fire for any attack on Christians. Don't buy guns. You don't want to kill anybody. We just must make sure that unwanted visitors don't come to our churches. So don't go and buy guns, he said. All right. I'm coming to you, Fine Face. The issue of buying of guns and not buying of guns, I can't remember the exact scripture particularly, but it was talking about when Jesus resurrected or something thereabout, and he said to his disciples, when you were with me, when I was with you, rather, you didn't have to go use arms and all that. You understand? That scripture has always been misconstrued. or misunderstood, as the case may be. But see, so when this issue of fire for fire made it to the news, July 2nd and 3rd, everyone assumed that, oh, yes, the Bible seemed to understand this, so let's go for it. Let's go and make sure we're armed and all that. But he's coming out to say, no, that's not what he meant. He used Samson as a reference. But let's get to have your take on this.
Yeah, it's good he came forward to clarify that particular scripture and preaching, because a lot of people were quick to cash in on what he said, because his statement came at a time that the Zamfara state governor have also given the same task to people and citizens of his state to see how they could defend themselves. And you know, when you are in a country where insecurity is a very big issue, a lot of people just want to hear from the next prominent person, and then they take up the direction that he has given for them to go. And that is what I see happening at that point in time. At the time of Christ, there was no guns. There was no gun at that time. But when you talk about gun, you're talking about weapon. So anything that is a weapon can become gun, depending on the society or the climate you find yourself. But if you look at what happened, what Peter did, you know, at a point in time when it was challenging, Peter had to pick up his knife and cut off somebody's ear. And the Bible also talked about the fact that at the time of John the Baptist, that the kingdom of heaven suffered violence, and violence taketh it by force. At this point in time in Nigeria, communities are suffering violence. Citizens are suffering violence. Almost everybody is not safe. So a lot of people are looking for opportunities for them to be able to defend themselves. But it's good for the cleric to clarify that particular, you know, scripture before people will begin to take up arms, because his own word will go further than what a governor's word could be. Because as a person who is in charge of the Redeemed Christian Church of God in Nigeria and in the diaspora, where you have thousands and millions of worshippers, a word from him can turn the whole game around. And I think it's better he has clarified that. But that doesn't mean that those who know what they are doing will not look forward to opportunities of defending themselves. But I believe the clarification is very, very okay. Because in this country we are not in the United States, where if you are 18 years, you can pick up arms. But even with the way that arms are being managed in that society, it's been moved to 21 years now before you can own an arm. So I think what the government needs to do to forget things like this from happening is to provide security for the people, because that's the primary responsibility of government, for government to provide security of lives and properties.
Speaking about providing security for the individuals, what do you see the church doing? Has the church really moved beyond just the biblical injunctions to making sure that, oh, yes, it's the house of God, that you need to have some physical presence of security members? Have we seen that happening in recent times?
Yeah, I think it has always been there. But the situation had always been that you have more security with the pastors, the head of the church, than the members. Because I know a particular man of God that even before he walks into his own house, you have, you know, government security shooting guns and scaring people away before a pastor can go into his church. But the same pastor will make handband and give to members to wear as a form of security. So it's been a very big challenge. And if you look at what happened in our Ondo State, it has made it imperative for churches to go beyond prayers, because even the Bible says that heaven help those who help themselves. And those who have been claiming that that portion is not in the Bible should remember that the same Bible says that if everything Christ said was written, that no book on earth can contain it. So it's all about you trying to see how you can protect yourself. But then the members of the church and the church as an institution, they need to step up their security. They need to apply for security from government to come and help protect the members when they go into worship. Because you cannot just be praying and thinking something will not happen. Remember that even when you die in the cause of God, it's like you are persecuted, like what the Bible says. And you have reward even in heaven if you pass through that. But then a lot of people are willing to go to heaven, but they don't want to die. So the point then remains that we need to provide security in churches. That is why we say security issue is not something that should be centralized. It should be something that should be decentralized. But if you are in a community, a new face walks into the community, you will know this is a new face. This person has never been here before. The same thing should apply to the church. When a new person walks into the church, there should be people that should be able to know and then put an eye on the people, even when they wait to welcome them as new members to that church. They should be able to look at some of these things and be able to address security issues around the churches.
I'll give you a little story. A couple of days back, I had to visit a church, and I'm walking into the premises just at the gate. We had people with this light vest searching individuals who are making entry into the church. Now, my assessment of this were they had no metal detector. They had nothing to detect if you were carrying any form of explosive, guns, and others. I think that the church had actually acted poorly. However, some public would want to see it as if there should be guns or personnel bearing guns and some other light arms in front of the church, saying they are protecting church members while service is going on, it might demoralize people from going to that particular church or make them see the religion as poor. What do you have to say about that?
Well, what I have to say about that is that members should not just believe that Christ is protecting, God is protecting, and they don't put other security measures. No matter how you look at it, look at Owo. What happened in Owo? It's not that God wasn't there. They were worshiping when it happened. So they should strengthen security in the churches. They should even build this equipment they use to check, the carrots they use to check people's body if there is any metal. And the way it is going in this country today, I think people should even go beyond checking metals when people get to church. They could use biological weapons in church. Remember that these terrorists are in a state of mind that they believe that if they can kill up to 150 or even more, with only one person dying, they are happy to go on that mission. There could be people that could even carry something that is like a powder, a biological weapon. They get into the church, they open it up, and then anybody that inhales that dies. And just one person from their clique goes, and it becomes a problem. Security has to be stepped up. Every church should install CCTV cameras in their churches, and they should try as much as possible to know everybody that comes to church, get their addresses, and carry out some background check even on their members. Because we are in a world where even the economic situation is frustrating people. Even members of the church that are known, that are aggrieved one way or the other, can also take up arms against the church.
All right, a quick one before we get out of this particular conversation. The church are the people, are the Christians. It's not just about the pastors. So however the pastors take the lead in churches. Now we have PFN, we have CAN. So the big question here is looking at what has happened in Owo and what has been happening in northern Nigeria for years. What we saw in Owo last month is just a norm for northern Nigeria. The U.S., some senators have written to the U.S. demanding that Nigeria be classified in the country of particular concern. And that's where they are. And we don't know what that is going to be because they said from Deborah Samuel Yakubu to Owo massacre and several history of killings that Nigeria is actually the second most dangerous country for Christians in the world today. Knowing all this, that's why they are pushing for Nigeria to be classified in the CPC list. Coming back to where we are, what has the church in Nigeria? Yes, there is the government, but the government hasn't protected you so far. So what has the church in Nigeria, CAN, PFN, for instance, what have they done? The likes of Papa Adeboye, it's not just about Redeemed Church of God. It's not just about the likes of Bishop Oyedepo and Paul Enenche. These are the people with one of the biggest, congregations in Nigeria. So it's not just about all this. So what about what they can stand up and begin to do?
Well, the churches can do enough, and they can do much, because if there is any institution that has enjoyed the goodwill of the people of Nigeria and anywhere else in the world, is the church. Because that is where you pay offering, that is where you pay tithe, that is where you pay special offering, you sow seed and what have you. So to a very large extent, resources is not a problem in churches if they want to provide security. The U.S. senators and the Western world are trying to reclassify Nigeria into the document of a country that don't have religious tolerance. And you can see that happening. Because even within the church, you still have people that are still against their own members. You remember the recent incident 2 days ago in the same Ondo state, where a pastor said Christ was supposed to come in April, but he shifted it to September. And for that reason, people should come into basement and hide and wait for God to come. That is a pastor that was supposed to be a caregiver, turning out to become a terrorist to the same people in the same church. So I think the church should go beyond what they are doing to some community service that has to do with the provision of security for their members. Remember, if they don't protect the members, it will be difficult for them to even have those who will come to church, make their church groovy, and even contribute to the resources in the church. So security of the church is not something that should be left into the hands of the government alone. And we come to the pulpit and preach and say government is not doing enough. Security is a collective responsibility. We must do everything we can as human beings, as churches, as mosques, and even the African traditional religion to work with government and other stakeholders to make sure that security is provided. That is to say, information given and sharing is very, very key. So those linkages and collaborations and partnership must all be established so that we have a safe place of worship for members and pastors.
All right, talking about having a safe place for worship for members and pastors. Let's now move to some other stories talking about the 2023 election. Now, road to 2023, Okowa exerts his VP position, calls on party faithfuls for support. The presidential campaign of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has taken steps to move beyond the animosity that followed his victory at the People's Democratic Party's presidential primary and the choice of Delta State Governor Ifeanyi Okowa as his running mate. Atiku Abubakar campaign appears to have lost patience with the inconsolable Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State by making a direct appeal to members of the PDP and all well-meaning Nigerians. Wike was defeated by Atiku at the PDP presidential primary held in May and was then overlooked by Atiku for the position of the vice presidential candidate. The Rivers governor has been inconsolable ever since and has refused to accept all appeals that the party makes. All right, we have to go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll discuss more on the topic. So what?
Making the difference in our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields and serve as role models today. ATN Icons, showing every Sunday 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes DTH channel 194, ATN Live on Google App Store, Facebook Atlantic Television Network, YouTube Atlantic Television Network, Instagram Atlantic TV Network, Twitter Atlantic TV Net. For sponsorship 0810-634-1777. ATN Icons, celebrating the giants of our time.
The people, the candidates, the party, the campaigns. What really makes an election here? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics. 2023 elections. Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, channel 194, or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Elections 2023 from Mondays to Fridays at 8 p.m. Election 2023. We the people have a stake.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
People into the country.
on ATN Blowout. We are going straight to Delta State, where the Delta State Governor, Dr. Arthur Okowa, is saying that party faithful to come on board. We have a job to do, and that's what is important. Well, the man seemed to be exerting himself. But let's welcome Stephen Degbara to ATN Blowout.
It's always a pleasure having you.
Now, before I come to Stephen, if I'm coming to you, when we read this story of the governor of Delta State, okay, APC vice presidential candidate, let's because that's what we're talking about. The interesting part in all of this is one thing. I didn't see an Okowa coming out to exert himself the way he did. Because like, why are we talking about something important? You guys are still going back to ifs and maybes. There is a job to be done. Can we just go straight and get this job done? But let's get to that.
Exactly. What do you expect? What you should expect is that whoever has been given a position will stand on that position, exert himself, and then claim it. Look, this is politics. It's not easy for you to be nominated as a running mate to a presidential aspirant. So when your name has been mentioned, you grab it with your two hands, whether you are going to get there or not. Even if, as it is today, even if they never or they didn't win the election at the end of the day, he remains for the rest of his life a one-time PDP vice presidential candidate. So it's very, very key. So that is what he should do. And I think that is what they should do to move ahead. Because if there is anything Atiku does not want to go back on, is to swallow his vomit. He has vomited it out that Okowa is my vice presidential candidate. Every permutation that needed to be done, were done. And the pendulum favored the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. But he went for the person he wanted. And that has happened. And I don't think that has to roll back. He has even said it that that has been done. So they can't go back on that. So whether good or... That is how I want people to live their lives. Stand by the words you say. Because when we say we are Christians, we are Muslim, we are all servants and children of God. And the Bible says that the word of God can never return to him void. So what the word we are sent out to do has to be done. So that is what should be. And remember, the Rivers State governor, a lot of people are complaining. To me, I don't see it as something that is too bad that Atiku has done. Because he made it clear that he doesn't want to become vice president. The Rivers State governor made it extremely clear that he does not want to become vice president. He took that home. And when you are the head of a house, the Bible also says that can two agree, work together except they agree. Look, Atiku feels that he cannot or may not be able to work with the Rivers State governor. And when the committee that was set up put together his name as a person to be considered, he said, no, I won't work with this person. This is the person I want to work with. And he went for the person he wanted to work with. So I think what they need to do now is that they need to move ahead. Because even the Rivers State governor, look, if you pick what our governor was saying by his words, you can write an episode that will defend Atiku for the action he took. He said whoever comes out of this presidential primary, that he will support the person. Now Atiku is elected. We should support Atiku. Work with the party. There are other positions in the party and at the presidency, if they win, that he can pick up. So I don't see anything fundamentally wrong. Okowa is already there. And I believe Okowa is going to continue to be there because we just have by 17th of this month for anything that has to do with substitution to happen. So two things are here. Either he remains in the party and support the party candidate or he defects to another party. That's the two options available.
I don't think some of the APC stakeholders want that. Now, coming to you, Stephen. Every time you look at, you take a stroll down the process of Wike becoming a contesting for presidency through the APC to PDP, and of course losing out, and of course, like Fineface said, the process of selecting him happened and it failed, and the man who has the power to choose made his choice. We haven't seen Wike come out to say anything. A lot of people are wondering, why is he whining? What exactly was the big deal? These things happen in life. Do you think he has been unfairly treated to the point that it's enough for him now to say, okay, we're breaking up the party if you don't give me the vice presidential position?
Okay, thank you, Vivian. I have never taken Wike seriously. For whatever he says, I have never taken him seriously. I don't know how people feel and then begin to see anything to say concerning what he's been doing lately or what he has said lately concerning the choice of Okowa as the vice presidential candidate to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. I've never taken Wike seriously. This is a man that told us, just like my brother Fineface said, that he's not going for vice presidency. He said over his dead body he would not. And this is a man that we see all over the social media, his boys rejoicing that he has been quote unquote chosen by the panel set up by the party, the PDP, to choose who becomes the running mate to Atiku. So what's there? He's a man that we can't take serious in anything he says because he has never stood by his words. He made it very clear on the podium at the Eagles in Abuja, the velodrome of the National Stadium, venue of the presidential primaries, that he was going to support whoever emerges. And then you have heard Governor Tom, you've heard former Governor Fayoshi, we've also heard other persons that have his own apologies, crying over spirit milk every day on television, talking back and forth, when the man they're supposed to be fighting for, or they are fighting for, is not standing by the words that he has given to Nigerians. He has said to Nigerians that he was going to support the party. But I'm not worried because that's the attributes of the PDP.
Oh, wow.
But they are inconsistent. They always say something today and they do something different in the next minute.
No, but there's a challenge with the position of the PDP as it's going. I'll bring you back to Rivers State real quick. The absence of a proper opposition party from the APC gave leverage to the governor of Rivers State to operate the way he felt. A lot of people even termed him an emperor. That's because there was literally no opposition in the state due to the infighting, inter-party issues within the APC. Okay? Now, let's take it back to the national. Considering how divided this country is, considering the issues from security to the economy, if they eventually emerge as the winner for the 2023 presidential election without a proper opposition.
You mean opposition here in Nigeria or in Rivers State for as
if by the time we make a choice of who becomes the president of Nigeria in 2023, okay, and it's not the APC and they are the PDP rather, and they happen not to be a proper opposition, a party that is standing strong. If you look at the US, you have the Democrats and the Republicans. Either way it goes, there's always that strong force checking the excesses of either of the governments.
We are always good at trying to equate what happens in the US to what happens. We have our peculiarities here.
We do, but there's a place for a position party in every government.
There's no ideology in political parties in Nigeria.
Oh.
What we have here is personal interest.
You mean the APC and the PDP, maybe the Labour Party, and so many of them don't have ideology?
Maybe we will get there very soon. I'm a practical person, and I don't see any ideology in political parties. So when you talk about opposition parties, trying to shape what the ruling party is doing, have they ever listened to the PDP or any other opinions coming out from the opposing views of any other Nigerians? Once a ruling party is set out for an agenda, you will see them want to carry it out no matter what someone says. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
This is a Rivers State governor that people cried foul over the incarceration of the House of Representatives member Farah Dagogo. And he saw him and he heard him clearly in the church that you cannot gag the government, you cannot gag him. In fact, I don't want to use some of his uncouth words on the public television. That's the nature of political parties and those in governance in Nigeria. They don't listen to views of Nigerians. Because when you look at the pattern with which the Farah Dagogo was incarcerated, you will see that it was a political witch hunt, clearly. And once you are a government, you don't listen to what the people are saying. It becomes a challenge. So I don't see anything different that will happen if the PDP wins and we will not have a good opposing voice.
Honorable Stephen seemed to have a very specific terms for political parties in Nigeria, and that's a crying shame considering we're going into 2023. But let me come to you, Fine Face. The issue on ground, the role of opposition, either way, whether the APC wins or Labour Party wins or PDP wins, with the inter-party issues going on in Rivers State right now, Rivers State PDP and the PDP at the national, do you see a proper opposition emerging to check the excesses of whoever the ruling party is? If the APC or Labour Party gets into power as the president, into the presidency by 2023?
Well, whichever party wins and forms the government at the center in 2023 is definitely going to have an opposition. But how vibrant the opposition would be becomes where the issue lies, because the vibrancy of the opposition determines how that opposition can influence the government of the day to give good governance to the people. Now, if you look at how the APC was providing and playing that opposition role before they came to power in 2015, you will see that they were matching the PDP word to word, action to action. But since the APC came on board, the PDP has not been able to play that opposition role. They attempted it to an extent, and then you have Olisa Metu, who was the spokesman, incarcerated for corruption packages and whatever that came from, the office of the National Security Advisor. But the point here is that if we form government in 2023 and there is crisis in all of these parties, it will be difficult for them to stand firm, to face the government of the day and play that opposition role that is needed. In Rivers State, throughout the leadership tenure of Nyesom Wike, you can see that opposition was almost like absent. At the national level, you also saw a system that is completely very, very low. That action wasn't there. In some other climes, you have a pseudo government. If you have the main government in power, you have the opposition playing some other roles that we seem as if they are running some form of government that is supporting and making good governance to be possible. In 2023, you are going to have a lot of these things not happening because the people that are supposed to play the opposition role will be having one internal crisis or the other.
Now, we'll quickly leave Nyesom Wike, PDP, Okowa, and all the issues around it. But there is a critical issue we need to look at because it is scary to imagine that this happened in the church. And we're going back to Ondo State. Last week, if you recall, there were issues of about 50 persons being locked up in an underground facility. Now, the Ondo State Police Command has explained the event leading up to the raid. Now, it's not just 50 persons, but we had 77 church members who were rescued from a church in Ondo called the Whole Bible Believers Church, a.k.a. Ondo Church. The command said the 77 rescued victims included 26 children, 8 teenagers, and 43 adults members had so far been rescued. Now, in the early hours of Saturday, a video had gone viral showing a busload of children, which was later learned that they were rescued from a church that had held them captive. Now, narrating the events in a tweet, a thread, Ondo Police Authorities said the victims were prevented from living normal lives as their pastor told them that the world was coming to an end. And I'm sure you're wondering in your head how a Christian doesn't read the Bible and all that. But again, the report says one of the children's father who had attempted to reach his children was attacked by the pastor's followers. Police statement on the matter, however, revealed that one pastor, Josiah Peter Asumosa, and his assistant pastor told members that rapture would take place in April. Now, both pastors, however, changed the rapture date to September and told young members to obey only their parents in the Lord. They also discouraged the young ones from going to school as rapture was near.
This is the speaking.
Honorable Degbara, I don't know where to start from. The Bible, it's at everyone's beck and call today. If you cannot read the letters, you can listen because you can download the audio version and learn yourself. The Bible said in the latter day that God will pour out his spirit, which we believe we're living in the last days. And of course, everyone will be able to prophesy, see visions, do whatever you need to do. What is this craze of tying your faith to the pastor? What is going on with our minds, in your estimation, please?
It's despicable, like I said. And it goes to show how merchandised Christianity is. And that's why when people talk about someone wants to Islamize me or the leadership of the country, I don't give in to such narrative. Because what we see clearly in our streets, our communities, is just merchandised Christianity. They are only out there to deceive unsuspecting members of the public. And it is unfortunate that people have the Bible, the dictionary that guides us as Christians. I am a Christian. And then you don't read it, you don't follow it the way it is. You allow yourself to be brainwashed, so much so that you can now give in your life, give out your person, give out your knowledge, your brain, sold it out to someone who probably didn't even go to school. Maybe he has acquired some kind of voodoo powers from elsewhere, because that's clearly what is happening here. And he's trying to use that to hypnotize his members. And unfortunately, parents give their children, submit them, and then allow them to get to such a stage that we are hearing today. And that's why we don't have a clear direction about Christianity in Nigeria. It is a big problem. It's a big problem in our hands. And when I see Christians today coming out to say, okay, don't enter the church because you don't have a PVC, it gets me crazy. It gets me crazy because it looks like they don't read what the scripture is telling them about leadership. All of a sudden, they are waking up to their responsibility that even in the scriptures, they have a guide. You have to pray for leaders. You have to participate in political leadership. And over the years, they had abandoned that responsibility. They had abandoned and resorted to, praying apart from what work can do. The Bible says prayer without work is dead. But over the years, we had abandoned our work and resorted to some kind of over-reliance on spirituality and prayers on what the Bible pastor will say. Even in our environment here in Port Harcourt, in the River State, you will see people say, Papa said, Mama said. And not what God said. Not what God said, not what the scripture says.
Now bringing this to bear, I'll come back to you real quick and coming back to you, Fine Face. Bringing this to bear on the outcome, he just made a very crucial statement. The church is suddenly realizing that they are to participate in governance and saying, okay, no PVC, no service. Why we applaud them for that? Let's look at the role the church is supposed to be playing. Maybe a lot of people don't understand, but maybe we can have a way of elucidating on that to help us understand what exactly the church is supposed to be and why these things, this story shouldn't be heard amongst educated people today.
Yeah, I think the first thing I want the people to know about church is that a church is an NGO, a non-governmental organization. It is registered by the Corporate Affairs Commission under the Incorporated Trustee, the same way like we have the Youth and Environmental Advocacy Center that I sit on as the Executive Director. That's how the church is registered. And the church is supposed to work towards preparing Christians to make heaven, and then playing some role like influencing policies and programs of government to suit the people and for the people to benefit from it. The church is also supposed to play some charitable roles in society, using some of the resources that the people have entrusted into the hands of that church. The church is also supposed to play some roles like being an NGO. You also try to provide some services for the society as a way of giving back to society. And I think some of them are trying to do things like that. The church is not basically supposed to indoctrinate their members to the extent that they can have strong men that will use their, magical powers, as I call it, to let people behave differently in such a way that they can even kind of stay away from their parents and hate their parents and believe the man of God. It's a replication of what we say about, having strong men instead of strong institutions. That is what you have. I'm surprised this is not into Christianity. It's only in the north we do hear of some Muslim houses, some places, some imams, incarcerating people like that and indoctrinating them. This is indoctrination. And you see that now in the Christian religion. And I think that we need to really be able to redefine how some of these church operate and for government to put an eye into what they do. There's been arguments in the philosophical and academic world about the church and the government, which one is bigger and which one is supposed to take order from who. But it's very clear to everybody that after God is government. The government has to regulate the activities of people that are in the society, because even before you establish the church, you have entrusted your powers, your own will into the hand of a people that these people should govern us through the social contract. So we need to, and government needs to look into the activities of the church, no matter what they do. That is why even today there is a law backing up the operation of church in such a way that if you stay on a particular seat as general overseer for above 25 years, you have to begin to pay tax. And the reason why the government is not collecting tax from churches is because they are supposed to play some charitable roles to society. But a lot of them are not doing that, collecting the whole money, not paying tax, and not giving back to society. Look at how they even stop some children from going to school instead of them to pay their school fees and ensuring that they go to school, providing what they should provide for them as a way of giving back to society. So I think to a very large extent that, the church has started deviating from its role that is assigned to it by society and by our laws. And it is high time that government looks into this and endeavor to bring them on track.
All right, just before we get out of this particular conversation, Honorable Debara, is it possible for us to have the Nigerian government critically look into the activities of churches like Fine Face had said, but this time ensuring that there are some boundaries that they are not to cross? We hear of some of our pastors can't even travel to some countries to preach or to do anything. That's because there are rules they have broken in those countries and they cannot. what are the possibilities of having the government look into the laws that, govern the church as an organization, as an NGO, and begin to retweak it, to bring it to bear in the sense that things like this don't happen. I mean, there are too many of this story. You remember Reverend King of Lagos some time ago, too.
The church actually was supposed to be registered as an incorporated trustee, like you said, but let us be practical. I like to be practical. The church has deviated from that particular role. As an NGO, they are supposed to cater for needs of society and regulate the activities of man towards God. What they had done is to make sure that they are more commercialized than we are taught. They are more commercialized than even the business centers. But I have a problem because Nigeria is a highly religious society. The government is quick to be blackmailed. They give in to religious sentiment easily. Like we're talking about Christian, Muslim ticket and all of those things, and then Muslim. People are still, at this 21st century, still agitated so profusely to the fact that there must be a Christian, Muslim ticket. I agree, we have our divides, and that's our problem. So I have a challenge having the government of the day begin to look critically, because we had situations where churches, even in Kaduna, tried to raise an opinion about how they play their horn speakers and then even paying tax to government. There were a lot of hue and cry over that policy of government. But I think we are gradually coming to the reality of what Governor El-Rufai was trying to do in Kaduna State. We have had situations where they told Pastor Adeboye that he was, like he just pointed out, and then you saw a lot of protestations, even from clergymen here from Port Harcourt. And with all due respect, David Mbume, he stood very strongly against that policy of government. So, and then you see, because they have the member, they have the followership, and their followership are members of government. So they submit to this kind of brainwashing, I would like to call it. They have sold their minds, so much so that their ideology has sunk into them, that they fail to understand that there are laws that governs the country before the church. And it is the same law that makes the church, that same law makes the society to run. So I have a problem with our government to be so bold to institutionalize the law, so much so that it will affect the church in their activities. I don't have that strength.
All right, we will keep looking at the issues in Ondo State. We cannot go further into it because it's a matter under investigation. But as the story unfolds, we'll bring that to you. But we'll come back to ATM Blowout to look at 2023 presidency. Igbo's only chance to be president or vice is with the NNPP, Kwankwaso. And this is at the point where young Nigerians are hoping that the Kwankwaso group, NNPP, will merge with the P2B Labour Party. But here we are. Changes, they say, changes. But who knows what the outcome will be? We'll be right back on this after the break. In our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields and serve as role models today. ATN Icons, showing every Sunday 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes DTH channel 194, ATN Live on Google App Store, Facebook Atlantic Television Network, YouTube Atlantic Television Network, Instagram Atlantic TV Network, Twitter, Atlantic TV Net. For sponsorship, 0810-634-1777. ATN Icons, celebrating the giants of our time.
The people, the candidates, the party, the campaigns. What really makes an election here? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics. 2023 elections Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, Channel 194, or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Elections 2023 from Mondays to Fridays at 8 p.m. Election 2023. We the people have a stake.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, social economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
People into the country.
Thanks for joining us again. Welcome back to ATN Blowout. Now we'll be moving to some other stories that we have in our development, but not forgetting we still have our wonderful guest in the house, Fine Face and Stephen, who will be doing justice to the various stories that we'll be looking at. Now, still on the road to 2023 presidency, Igbo's only chance to be president or vice is with the NNPC. Kwankwaso is saying this morning. The new Nigeria People's Party presidential candidate Rabiu Kwankwaso has said the Southeast region lost in PDP and APC and that their only chance to be president or vice president lies with the NNPP. According to Kwankwaso, the Southeast is good in terms of business, very hardworking and industrious, but one area they must learn is politics. They are at the bottom line. He, however, explained that if you look at the situation, they have lost out with the APC and the PDP. No president, no vice president. The only opportunity the Southeast has to be president or vice is with the NNPP. Coincidentally, the party was registered by an Igbo man from Anambra State. He also notes that this is the only golden opportunity for Southeast, which if they lose will be a disaster. Now, the whole reality is playing out, and we just have to examine how it's been going. Now, Stephen, what is your assessment of Kwankwaso's discussion this morning?
Before I go into the assessment of what Kwankwaso said, I am a bit worried about the Peter Obi Kwankwaso arrangement. Because I don't see that alliance working. And then if it is not going to work, all that they are doing is just a storm in the teacup compared to the strength of the PDP and the APC. Some persons will say structure doesn't matter, but I think differently. Structures do matter in political parties. And because of the selfishness of the actors, Kwankwaso wants to be president, and then Obi also wants to be president. There could be something different that they would have put on the table if there would be a merger between the both. But that is not going to be from the body language of Kwankwaso this morning. We have also heard you'll be not likely going to also accept that kind of combinations. Last week we had Abdulmimi Jubri, one of the strong pillars of Kwankwaso, also stole the line of what Kwankwaso had just said this morning. And then you look at Kwankwaso that has some form of history of political strength. You give it to him because he has been on the top for quite some time. he had his members and structures across board. Even the Kwankwasia movement is not being formed today. But the Obi thing is just a child of circumstance that is trying to evolve. And then some of them may be deceived by the wave of the obedient movement, not actually the reality of the fact that he needs to build a structure over time. So you will see a Kwankwasia that feels that he has the structure, he has the popularity across the north, and now even some ample of followership within the south. And then you see an Obi that sees himself now like the bride of Nigerians, and then you will be priding in that kind of arrangement, forgetting the fact that an alliance between the both would have put some form of difference on the table, or giving the PDP and the APC a good fight in 2023. But I don't see that happening because of the arrogance of their domineering, their attributes towards that kind of union. So what the obedient movement you hear about and the Kwankwasia thing is just a storm in the teacup. It's not going to work in 2023.
Now, for you, Fine Face, how do you make assessment of this situation? Because Peter Obi is not willing to board. Same goes for Kwankwaso. Everyone wants to be president. No one wants to be the nearest substitute of being the vice president. What would you talk about this situation? Is there a possibility that if Peter Obi refused to partner with the NNPP, the Southeast might have lost out on the position of the vice president?
Well, I don't think if he does not synergize with the NNPP, that Southeast will lost out. They will still get to the pool. The Kwankwaso will get to the pool with his movements, the obedient movements, and Peter Obi will all get to the pool. But whether or not they will emerge through the ballot box to become president is where the matter lies, and where I don't see any of them coming closer. I think there is a saying in Ogoni where I comes from that if two people that argue a lot enter one boat, that boat usually sink. So I see the marriage between Labour Party and NNPP sinking, because both of them are arguing. They don't nobody want to give in for the other. And one thing they need to learn from was what the APC did in 2015 before they could take power. A lot of political parties, well about 4 or 5 of them, came together, merged, and they put that force into the system to oust the PDP. That is what I think they should be doing now. I believe that by this point in time, both of them would have agreed, and then they go for other smaller political parties and get all of them to themselves, so that we have 3 parties going to the pool. You have the APC, you have the PDP, and then you have that coalition of political parties going in there to make the difference. But with what is happening now, they will all end in the media, they will all end on social media and on the pages of newspaper. I don't see them being able to make it there. And that is what I think will not work well for them, because to me, I think that they ought to have been able to step down for each other, who goes for vice and who goes for, the presidential slot. But if he is saying that 2023, he doesn't see the chance of an Igbo man becoming president or vice president, I will agree with him. But if he thinks that without the NNPP, without that, maybe on the whole, that an Igbo man will not become president, I don't see that happening. Because I believe that the Igbos are third majority in the country, and they also have that strength. But the only area they have lost out is the fact that in 2023, the 2 major political parties, the APC and the PDP, have not considered them for either vice or the presidential slot. And that is where the matter lies. So I think they need to go back to their drawing board, put their houses together, see how they can make the coalition to work if they want to give the APC and PDP a good fight in 2023.
Well, interesting position there. I see you taking Fine Face. Okay, let's move over to our Abuja studio where we have Patience standing by. Patience, good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Yes, same here. How are you this morning? Port Harcourt is fine. Port Harcourt is buzzing. How's Abuja?
Very fine and cool.
All
Okay,
right.
moving straight to the 2023 presidency, where there is an indecision of who to become the president or the vice, talking about Kwankwaso and Peter Obi. Earlier on July 2nd, at the inauguration of the NNPP office, Kwankwaso, who is a candidate of NNPP, was given his reason why he should be president and Peter Obi should be vice, or the reason why Peter Obi, if being president, would affect his party. But then again, people are saying this is the only chances for Igbos to become president or vice, being the clamoring to be a president or not. But then again, the decision lies with the Labour Party and the NNPP. Now, the question to the guest is, do you think either of the presidential candidates among the two parties are going to let one to take over as president or vice? Because Kwankwaso is saying he cannot be vice president because NNPP is going to collapse. And again, I don't think Peter Obi, on the other hand, wants to be vice president. But then again, if actually one person wants to be president or vice, it depends on the two, talking about Peter Obi and Kwankwaso. So what can you say about this scenario? Because they're actually sitting on the fence right now.
Okay, let's have you, Mr. Stephen, take that first.
Okay, it's for me, they are standing between like the devil and the deep blue sea, I would like to call it, because you see, like I said earlier, a grandstanding in the Kwankwasia movement, and then that of Peter Obi because of the obedient wave that is ongoing now. But if you ask me, if they have to make any difference in 2023, there have to be that kind of alliance. And if you ask me further, who goes for who steps, becomes vice and the other, I would prefer and be, Kwankwasia ticket, Kwankwaso ticket. The reasons are that if you go to the north, we have a Kwankwaso coming out to be, the presidential candidate, and then we have Alhaji Atiku Abubakar coming to be a presidential candidate in the PDP. So naturally, the north will be divided along those lines. So, but within the south here, you will see more of the obedient movement, springing up like a wildfire. So you would want to see a block concentration of votes for Peter Obi, and then that would bring something much different on the table. So a combination of Kwankwaso, having some chunk of the votes from the north, adding to what Peter Obi would get, can actually make a bit of difference. But because we have seen this kind of grandstanding among these two leaders, it appears that they have been so immersed with the euphoria of the followership they are beginning to get, and then the clamor for Nigerians to have a change in 2023, to think that they are the people that will bring that, will be the messiah for Nigeria to move forward. So, because they are not going to marry, they are not going to agree to unite, like I said earlier, what they are doing will just be a storm in the teacup.
Interesting. Now, for you, Fine Face, what do you make of the decision? What do you make of the question?
Well, the question is just very clear, and the direction to go is also very clear. In the PDP, we have Atiku from the north, and we have Okowa from the south. In the APC, we have Bola Tinubu from the west. And who becomes the vice to Bola Tinubu is not yet very clear, even if we have Masari on that seat. Is a placeholder from the way they put it. And I would think that if we have a presidential candidate from the southeast, it may be a good and better permutation for the NNPC Labour Party joint tickets that they want to put together. Yeah, joint ticket that they want to run. So I would have advised Kwankwaso to allow Peter Obi to run the ticket as a presidential aspirant, while he deputizes him, because the whole of the southeast will come up in their full strength in that support. South too will come in. And in Lagos State, the Igbo people occupy greater percentage of the voting population in that state. Push all this together, plus what Kwankwaso is going to bring on the table, it may take both of them close to the presidential villa in 2023, if not into the villa proper. But if he insists on being the presidential aspirant, talking about Kwankwaso here, then it's going to be, the whole plan is going to hit the rock. And both of them will remain on their party to become candidates and only answer a one-time presidential aspirant of so party. And it ends there. Are they ready to get power? If they allow these movements of joint ticket and marriage to work, alliance to work, by having Peter Obi as the head and then having Kwankwaso as the deputy, I believe they will be doing something. Because already Peter Obi is even having issue having Donyo Kube as his placeholder, on that ticket right now. And I think the best option now is to have a Christian southeast and a Muslim north, like we have them to be, and they can go to the poll and make the whole difference, because already in the PDP there is issue. In the APC there is issue. So they have the chances of moving into Aso Rock in 2023 if Peter Obi becomes the presidential aspirant.
Interesting. It's an interesting time that we are in, looking at the fact that multiple developments would continue to happen in the political sphere, especially as relating to 2023. Now let's see members to the PDP. Maikano, who was an aspirant in the 2022 PAT primaries, vied for APC ticket to represent Matazu, Musawa Federal Constituency at the House of Representatives. Maikano alleged that he and others left the APC due to undemocratic principle of party leaders while receiving the defectors. PDP State Chairman, Honorable Salisu Yusufu Majigiri said, "Today, we received over 5,000 APC members from Matazu and Musawa local government led by Ali Maikano and Isa Abba into our great party, the PDP. As new members, I assure all of you rights accrue to the rest of our members. We will ensure that you benefit from every opportunity regarding the welfare of members without sentiment." Reacting to the defection of the APC members to the PDP, the state vice chairman of the APC, Bola Abu Musawa, challenged the PDP and Maikano to mention the names of the 5,000 APC members that defected with the main opposition party in the state. He described Maikano as an office-seeking and self-acclaimed politician who has no interest of the masses at heart, but parties that will guarantee his political ambition, saying he will soon leave PDP because the party will not give him ticket. According to him, Maikano spent only 3 months in APC, so where did he get the 5,000 supporters? He should mention their name. He is not even a politician, but a political office-seeking individual who is after his personal interests. Mr. Fineface, I can see you've been laughing through the whole discussion. Do you think this is just a propaganda?
Yeah, I think it's propaganda. Look, the way these politicians behave, politics is a game of number, I know, but the way they behave at times, when they want to seek relevance, they want to tell you the contribution they are making to the party, and for that reason, yes, like the question is asked, you should produce the name of the 5,000 people he defected. We hear that a lot across the country, even in River State. We've heard a lot of massive thousands of defectors. Let us see the name of the people that defect. And a lot of the people they gather when they are doing that are hired crowd, that they come forward with and claim these are people that are defecting. So a lot of those things happen. But to a very large extent, well, the APC have lost some members. Whether they are up to 5,000 or not, they have lost some members, into the PDP. And I believe strongly that that defection may not be unconnected with the fact that, Masari, who is from that state, and the placeholder in the APC is in the PDP, it's in the APC, So maybe there's some fraction and making a kind of fraction along the line, which is making them to move from one party to the other. But I believe that defection has happened. Let's see how that is spin in the political will to give victory to the party for which the PDP that has gained this number of people.
Interesting. Now, Mr. Stephen, we'll be seeing more of this defection in days to come.
Yeah.
We're in a very serious political state of things or affairs right now. What would you say about party faithfuls moving large number of persons? We saw what happened in the National Assembly, where the APC is even trying to institute a move to restrict some of their party members from carpeting to the next party. What would you make of this particular scenario at this moment and at this critical point in time?
When I said earlier that, Nigeria, there is no ideology in political party activities, I meant what I said, and that's clearly what is being demonstrated here in Katsina State. People talk about defections and all of this. They try to, insult our collective sensibilities as voters and as political watchers and activist followers. So what is happening in Katsina State is a clear desperation from the gentlemen you mentioned earlier, because they lost out of primaries. What is happening in Nigeria or in political parties, even though you are not a member of the political party, it is in the interest of all of us. We are all watching what is happening in the PDP and what is happening in the APC and any other political parties. And Nigerians are interested in what is happening there as to, making their decisions, their final decisions on the day of ballot. So what they do, we also form our decisions on whether to vote for them or not to vote for them. Clearly what those gentlemen are doing is just desperation at its peak, because they lost out of their political party primaries. No two persons cannot win at a time, because they want to be the one to remain there. They don't want to follow, if there's any ideology of a political party, and so they want to begin to talk down. You come and talk about 5,000 members and all that. those phantom figures that doesn't exist. If you look at Katsina, for example, you will see that this is a traditional home state of President
Muhammadu
Buhari. And in the history of Katsina, you have seen the kind of pious followership President Buhari has had over the years. Buhari, give it to him, he's not a flamboyant person, but naturally he has the followership that is just religious and very pious for him. So when you hear people talk about jumping ship to another party, it will make no difference, particularly in Katsina State, where the home state of the president. The persons being chosen today perhaps may be the most popular persons as to, different from these gentlemen you mentioned. And so when you hear them talk about 5,000 members, it's just an illusion.
There's something you said that really piqued my interest.
Yeah.
You said the migration that we see from one party to the other, especially where it involves a large number of party faithfuls, is an insult to the sensibility of the voters.
No. When they talk about the fact that we are bringing 5,000, we are bringing 10,000 members, it's an insult to our collective sensibility, because we know the reality on ground. Some of these things happen within our neighborhoods, our communities here. They will come and mention those phantom figures that doesn't exist. So what is happening in Katsina is no difference to what we see here. More so that you want to talk about Katsina State, that is the traditional home state of the kind of political followership President Muhammadu Buhari enjoys in Katsina State is such that these kind of characters cannot even contend with, to start with. So he is trying to insult the sensibility of voters even in Katsina State, because truly he's not going to get the voters. I want to challenge him to test another political party. Because like the response he got, he's not also going to get it from the PDP. Because obviously, clearly, they have already selected who represents them on their tickets in those areas. So where is he going to test the popularity he has with those 5,000 members?
Interesting. Five-Face, party ideology. You know, when people begin to move in this manner, it gives the voters some sort of inability to make choice. You're not sure of where the person whom you're following is being led to or moving towards. What is your take on that? Because from time to time, Nigerians become somewhat unsure about who they are to follow, and that is why you have people being neither here or there.
Yeah, anything that has to do with political party ideology in Nigeria is zero. They don't have. The only thing you can see in relation to ideology in Nigeria and what political parties are supposed to practice in terms of ideology is the difference between an NGO and a political party. If you are a core NGO man, you will see that you will uphold from partisan politics. That is why, because I'm an NGO man, you can't see me in any political party. That gap, that demarcation is there. That the moment I get into politics, when I speak, people wouldn't take me seriously anymore because I have crossed the red line. But in partisan politics, you see people kind of defecting from one party to the other. It becomes a very big issue. So that doesn't exist. And like we are talking about 5,000 people in Katsina State, it's just that when you want to defeat your opponents in a quiz, you ask the person to name the 5,000 people that Christ fed with 5 fishes and some loaves of bread. You know that the person wouldn't have that name. So it's a very big issue that we have in the country. That's why people defect. Just because you didn't get ticket during primaries, you have to move to the next party. No ideology at all. If you get to other clients, we keep referring to where we borrow a lot of things from the United States. You have the Republicans and the Democrats. Clear-cut ideology that has been groomed over the years. And it's even difficult for you to move from one party to the other, because for you to unlearn what you've learned over the years in terms of your party ideology and embrace new one is a big challenge. And people will see you as someone that cannot be trusted, because already those things you were pouring out of your mouth against the other party, you are now swallowing your vomit and you've moved to the next party. It's a very big deal. Right. And I think in Nigeria we need to learn how to build our party ideology and stay on our parties and not to differ from one party to the other at will.
All right, in Nigeria, building the party ideology and not defecting, jumping boats from one place to the other. Let's head back to our Abuja studio where we still have Patience waiting by. Patience.
All right, thank you very much. Okay. On this story, talking about defection, now I'll quickly throw this question. I see this defection from one party to another as a jamboree. Now, could you say the Nigerian party system is just like playing a chess of game? Because today someone can just wake up because one ideology or one goal is not met and you decided to switch over to another party. And like one of the guests rightly says, this is putting the masses in sitting on the fence, because some of the masses, they already say this is the party they belong to, this is the party they belong to. Now, you standing up and just defecting to another party, don't you think this is going to cause a lot of voter apathy in the minds of the voters? So could you say that the Nigerian political party system is like a place where, just like a ball of a chess game? What could you say about this?
I think we should give Stephen that question.
I've said before that there's no ideology in political parties in Nigeria. And I keep emphasizing it because if there were to be ideologies, you would not even see people to even mention to say that follow us, 5,000 followed you to another political party. What we do here is that we emphasize so much on the candidates. We emphasize so much on the individual, what they can actually bring on the table. So when you see characters like this, it's actually a pointer to his failure, whatever he is going to, because Nigerians are wiser now. We are not so much like the Democrats and the Republicans in the United States, where we so much entrenched in the ideology of a political party. What you as an individual brings to the table, it is what matters here in Nigeria. That is why Nigerian political parties emphasize so much on credibility of the candidates they are throwing in. If you look at what the PDP has done, they are trying to look at how they can win election, not what they can offer to Nigerians. They have given their own analysis to say that, okay, if we bring a Southerner, we may not be able to defeat the APC. And so we need the Northerner that has, according to them, has the majority of the votes in the North. So it is not about an ideology as it were. What they want to do is that they want to make sure they just cling on to the power. So, and Nigerians are also towing that line because we are not entrenched in an idea of a political party, because if you look at the trajectory of voting populations, how many members are in the APC, for example, their own database? How many members are in the PDP compared to the whole Nigerians? You will see even more of those that are in the churches. They say they have 5,000 branches, 14,000 branches. If you ask questions, majority of them does not belong to political parties. So the large number of political voters come from the ordinary Nigerians. That's what we have in Nigeria today. So when you hear ideology, political party, defection with 5,000 members, it's just phantom.
All right,
it doesn't make any difference to me.
Fine Face, do you agree with Stephen's assessment?
Yes, I agree with his assessment, and I want to bring a new perspective where the question talks about the fact that those defections could affect or cause political, apathy among voters. It may not really cause that, because Nigerian politics thrives on what we call prebenda politics in political science. Politics of clientele, that's politics of godfatherism. That is what runs Nigerian politics wrong on. So the followers are like bandwagon. Anywhere the boss say we go to is the place you go to. So wherever they take them to, they stay there and vote, and then they wait for crumbs that fall from their table, and that is it.
All right, Fanface says that the followers are like bandwagon. They wait for crumbs to fall from the table of the majesty. You're still watching ATN Blowout this morning. We'll go on a very short break, and we'll come back. More stories here to take on.
In our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields and serve as role models today. ATN Icons, showing every Sunday 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes DTH channel 194, ATN Live on Google App Store, Facebook Atlantic Television Network, YouTube Atlantic Television Network, Instagram Atlantic TV Network, Twitter Atlantic TV Net. For sponsorship 0810 634-1777. ATN Icons celebrating the giants of our time.
The people, the candidates, the party, the campaigns. What really makes an election year? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics. 2023 elections. Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, Channel 194, or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Elections 2023 from Mondays to Fridays at 8 p.m. Election 2023. We the people have a stake.
Frontline.
Back to ATN Blowout. We're going straight to a last story for this morning, and that's an amnesty program. Presidential amnesty program contractor diverts ex-agitators training funds. Now, in a statement signed by Mr. Nyotabes Egbe, the special advisor on media to PAP Interim Administrator Colonel Milan Dikio retired, which was made available to the news agency of Nigeria yesterday in Yoruba. It reads, the attention of the presidential amnesty program has been drawn to reports that a contractor, Express Consigns International Limited, has diverted money paid to them to train 90 ex-agitators in the agriculture value chain. Indeed, the PAP had contracted Express Consigns International Limited to train its beneficiaries, but the contract was terminated via a letter dated June 14, 2022. Because the contractor breached the terms of the agreement. Contracts are not awarded to just anybody who submits a proposal, but to serious contractors who have the capacity to deliver their contractual obligations. However, each job awarded by PAP has an insurance bond that ensures the scheme recovers its money in the event of default by the contractors. Consequently, the PAP wrote to the guaranteeing firm insurance company for the recovery of the mobilization fee paid to the company. While the management of the PAP acknowledges the interest shown by various stakeholders in the affairs of PAP, let it be known that deliberate measures were put in place to reform contractual processes and block all loopholes that could be capitalized upon to dupe the program. Now, to all concerned stakeholders and the general public, there is nothing to worry about, as your concerns had been anticipated and taken care of through the various reforms initiated by the administration of Colonel Diko. We want to further assure all stakeholders that PAP's contracts are designed for the benefit of the program's beneficiary and not for the enrichment of any contractor, the statements read. Let me go straight to Fine Face. You're the NGO man here. When you read stories like this, a company diverting funds meant to train 90 ex-agitators in the agricultural program, the question is, what process did it follow? How did it get to the point that the contractor actually had the money within himself to easily spend the way he wants? From what I thought I knew until I read this, to maybe there's something I don't know you need to talk to us about. Isn't it supposed to follow a process? Are these funds supposed to be released directly into the person's account? How did it get to the point that he actually, or the company, they diverted the money? Let me not say he, could be a she.
Yeah, I believe that it followed a process. The Presidential Amnesty Program is not as independent like the NDDC. It's a program under, and I think it's submerged under the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs to an extent. And then this window of public procurement process that they advertise, people come to bid, you show your expertise, and those processes may have been followed. And then the contract was awarded. And when the contract is awarded, the contractor has to be mobilized to sites. And that mobilization fund could be 40%, could be 50% or 60%, depending on what they agreed and signed in the contract that was signed. But what happens here is that a lot of contractors, the moment they have that kind of fund, they relocate from their houses to hotels, or they send their family abroad and begin to spend the money when they have not executed the job. So you have a lot of these things happening. Because if they were supposed to use the money to train the people, I wonder why they wouldn't do that. Now they have not trained the people, they have partially embezzled the money, but there is one aspect of this whole discussion that I love most from what you read, is the fact that every contract awarded by the Presidential Amnesty Program is insured. With that, the last statement about nothing to worry about, I actually have nothing to worry about, because the insurance company is going to indemnify the Presidential Amnesty Program to ensuring that the money comes back.
But there is a challenge. I'm coming back to you, Honorable Stephen, but still on your fine face, there's a challenge with that. And the challenge is time.
Yeah, definitely.
Delivery period.
Exactly.
Now, if you say, oh, is insured, that is not about the money is meant to be used for something that will bring about the value to the society. So when a process that is being followed does not check the excesses of such contractors, what exactly was done to ensure that the funds are used and directed? At the bank, for instance, are the banks aware that this money is to be channeled through this means? What are some of the things you think that may have been done or should have been done to ensure that this doesn't happen?
Well, monitoring and evaluation would have been one of the best things to do, because when you set up a program like the Presidential Amnesty Program, there should be a way of accountability, a way that citizens, NGOs, stakeholders will be able to monitor companies that you've given the contract. It is by so doing that you'll be able to monitor some of these things, because basically time will be lost in the process of recovering that money. But if the NDDC, for instance, had also been insuring every contract awarded, the well over 12,000 contracts awarded, and they kind of take away the money, embezzle the money without coming to start, would have been something that by now the insurance company will be held liable to refund those money. Here time will be lost, but the money will definitely be recovered. But I think that the ICPC, the EFCC shouldn't wait until the money is recovered through the insurance company or the contractor itself for them to swing into action. They should go straight and they arrest whoever is owning this company, charge this company to court, and one up this company, because any company that embezzles money that was meant to contribute to development in the Niger Delta or anywhere else in Nigeria is not supposed to remain in operation. Because in the Niger Delta today we have a lot of issues, especially banditry, and I say banditry, militancy, which is on the rise, artisanal crude oil refining, which is on the rise, crude oil, which is on the rise, pipeline vandalism, and this amnesty program was meant to address some of those issues so that you can have, oil production to go on. Today we have 1.7 million barrels of oil, kind of given to Nigeria to produce by OPEC, but we are unable to meet up the quota. And the 2023 Appropriation Act was benched on 1.8 million barrel production per day. We are producing less than 1.2 million. And these are some of the things that training those youths who are involved in pipeline vandalism, artisanal refining, that is making Nigeria not to produce, would have been able to address. And you can see that because the Presidential Amnesty Program is failing due to effort of this nature. The presidency last week put together over 100 local companies with 57 oil processing licenses to go and look for oil so that they can meet up the quota that have been given to the country. So companies of that nature should be held liable. I also know quite well that the Presidential Amnesty Program training facility in Kayama is in bad shape since ever it was vandalized and destroyed. In bad shape. So the contractor may even have excuse to say that is the facility I wanted to use, but because it's been vandalized, I have no place to use. But I think that we talked about agriculture as a place you were supposed to invest that money to train the people. You should be held liable and make that money available to the people.
Very quickly, Stephen, the issue of holding the contractors liable, ensuring that they do what they're supposed to do. This dates back to our history when it comes to projects being manned by government offices or their parastatals. High prep is a typical example of that. When we talk about, Fine Face talked about evaluation and monitoring. We were not told the kind of evaluation and monitoring that was in place for the PAP projects, that the training of 90 ex-agitators in agriculture scheme. But looking at this holistically, how do you think government can look at the issues here and begin to get it right when it comes to awarding contracts?
Okay. The amnesty program, the presidential amnesty program, is is a cash cow in the Niger Delta. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it clearly because over time I have not seen the result on the people. He mentioned that the artisanal refining is still going on. He mentioned that pipeline vandalism is still going on. He mentioned that our environments are still being polluted, devastated. He mentioned that a lot of things that the amnesty program was meant to address is still happening. So what has happened clearly is just maybe one of those contractors that felt so entitled to the funds may have fallen out of favor, and so he has to sponsor some agitations against the one that got the money. That's the way it is. I take, for example, go to my community, or even any other communities today. What they do, the only benefits the amnesty program is giving to us is that there is no direct attack on personnel of those multinationals, prospecting oil or exploring oil, and so Nigeria still have a way of getting, daily productions, and then the money is still coming. Otherwise, there's nothing the amnesty program has actually addressed. The things that we have set out is not being done. What they do is that they pay money, those salaries they give to those our youths, young people in our communities, and they still go and perpetuate crime. There are still these boys are still holding people hostages in our communities.
So what do you
communities
think?
are still deserted. So for me, the whole essence of amnesty program should be scrapped. It is not working because
And
the money they are talking
alternatively,
about.
because you just also pointed out that there has been some positive out of it, which is the secured Niger Delta.
It's not secure.
At least the abductions are not going.
We are dying slowly. We are dying slowly through
Okay.
artisanal refining.
Okay, so
through
what do you
fire, we are dying
say?
slowly.
You
We
are
not-
here, you are facing this directly. So what do you suggest the government should do if you're suggesting they cancel the
They
presidential?
cancel the presidential amnesty program because it's of no benefit to us.
Alternatively,
What we should do is to direct these monies to the communities, to the people. We have the PIB law. Let the money go to the communities. Let them know what to do with the money, how it can benefit the generality of the people. Not when you give money to somebody that will not have any value on the community. Because as it is now, we see inhale those hydrocarbon that they burn every day. And yet they are collecting the money. They collect monthly stipends. You understand me? They use it to buy guns and ammunition and still terrorizing our communities. As I speak to you, communities are deserted in Ogoni land. There are few communities still under siege.
and this is with the high prep.
And these are people that are still collecting
that
money.
are meant to be. These are people that
that's another matter
I literally
altogether.
said this is what you should do to stop artisanal refining. But again, that's another government project that don't seem to be people oriented as it should be, just like the PAP project that both of you have pointed out. What steps do you think he talked about taking the money to the communities, let the communities decide on what to do? Looking at PAP, what do you suggest?
Yeah, looking at PAPs, I don't think they should scrap it. I think they can strengthen it. I think they can kind of restructure it to give it more strength. When HyPrep started, HyPrep was just like what we have the presidential amnesty program today. We advocated for HyPrep to be strengthened. And HyPrep was strengthened in such a way that you have the project coordination office, you have the board of trustees there, then you have the governing council that make laws and make things to work within HyPrep. Even if it's not where we want it to be by today, at least it has been strengthened. We should have the same thing for the presidential amnesty program. And the program should not spearhead the entire process of facilitating development in the Niger Delta, but look into the Niger Delta and see some other efforts that are being driven to ensuring that we have the better Niger Delta. For instance, I am running Youth and Environmental Advocacy Center. How did it come to be? The United States of America called me out. Look, we see what you are doing. Come to America. Let us show you how we develop America, how we work with stakeholders in America to make America to go where it is. And come back to Nigeria, set up your organization, which is Youth and Environmental Advocacy Center today. Drive the process of development in the Niger Delta. What they call strengthening community-based advocacy in the Niger Delta through multi-stakeholder engagement, which is what we are looking at. So don't focus this on a particular area. Like the PIA is on board today, we have the 3% that's been provided there. I believe that if some of the resources are pushed through that angle, it will help to drive development in the Niger Delta. We shouldn't put all our eggs in one basket through the presidential amnesty program or other initiative, but look at efforts by other organizations, individuals that can pay off and address this issue. We are looking at Modular Refinery today at Advocacy Center. We are looking at the Presidential Artisanal Crude Oil Refining Development Initiative, PACODI, that we legalize artisanal refining and license it to become a national venture, the same way we have the Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Development Initiative, PAGMI, in parts of the North. We are also initiating the process of having solar mini grids in communities so that we can cut off the supply of artisanal refining, provide alternative livelihood for youth who are involved in that process, and cut off that hydrocarbon extraction that is even causing soot and contributing to, climate change. So a lot of efforts are being put together that should be looked at issues.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen, for being part of ATM Blowout. It's an honor having you two here this morning.
Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity.
You want to say something?
Yes, I actually wanted to.
20 seconds.
I wanted to say that, look, people like Dume actually got some of us into, some of those activism and all of those things because we saw what they've been doing, particularly in Ogoniland on this sense. But how much have you been paid? Nobody's paying you.
All right.
We'll
find out to get
they bring money to pay those boys to stop the vandalism, but they're still going on with it. So let us not be encouraging things that are not working.
Okay,
let us not encourage young people to begin to carry guns, and because they know that when they carry the gun, they will pay them. Okay, he talked about the high prep and all of this. There's no strength in high prep. As I speak with you, over 14 companies are going through BPE processes of getting
we put that discussion for another day.
No local contractors are involved.
We understand how you feel about that. We'll come back here to look more into this. We can't wait to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you once again for being part of Blowout this morning. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back on ATN Blowout. Making the difference in our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legend. Have you back on the last lap of ATN? How this so far on the show? What's your take with all analyses and takes?
I must say that it's been quite an interesting discussion, looking at the fact that we had to trail it from what is bedeviling the People's Democratic Party and the AAC down to the issue of how some contractors had diverted the funds meant for the presidential amnesty program. So a lot is happening, and by the time it's tomorrow morning, trust me, another set of issues would have enveloped the nation that we had to say, oh, we've forgotten that one. Let's move on. So we need to continue talking for the development of the country, and we're believing that relevant stakeholders would make the right decision.
So much patience. What was it for you? And this
is coming up, and there have been a lot of defection and choosing of candidates. Look, we looked at the Peter Obi and Kwankwaso, and again I looked at that story that talked about a pastor brainwashing his members to that the world is coming to an end, all of that. And this, I'll say, this comes down to Nigerians. We should stand up and try to do the right thing, getting our PVCs, and not allowing some people to infringe on our rights or trying to brainwash us into what we are not. That's what I have to say. It was an interesting one.
All right, thank you very much, Patient Albert from Abuja Studio. And that's been our show today. Whatever you do, that is the after the several got to stand up and register for your PVC. Please go and see registered self-set. And it doesn't end at the leader. Following the narrative, who are you going to the one votes to? Your president, to be governor, to be senator, your House of Representatives, at the National Assembly. Who are you giving that mandate to? It's not about the number, it's about the decision you take as one person to say, this is who I'm going to give it. By precedent, by antecedent, sorry, I know this person can do Others want one vote is what are you voting percent and parity. Thank you. This morning, sports talk comes up next. It's the people making the difference in our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields and serve as role models today. ATN Icons, showing every Sunday 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes DTH channel 194, ATN Live on Google App Store, Facebook Atlantic Television Network, YouTube Atlantic Television Network, Instagram Atlantic TV Network, Twitter Atlantic TV Net. For sponsorship 0810 634 1777. ATN Icons, celebrating the giants of our time.
The people, the candidates, the party, the campaigns. What really makes an election here? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics. 2023 elections. Who are the candidates?
this edition of Sports Talk.
Delightful morning, Mr. Siri. Good morning, and always a pleasure.
Let's get started straight away. As usual, we'll start on the local scene where the United States of America universities have saved Nigeria a whooping 26 million naira at the weekend. This is some kind of, let's say, help coming from the United States of America.
Yeah, it is, and the man has come out to say that sometimes people don't get to know some of the behind-the-scene issues that might have transpired. So, for the sake of transparency and accountability, has come out to say that if not for these universities where some of the athletes ply their trade, it would have been very difficult to pay for their ticket flying down to Nigeria for the national trials that was just concluded recently at Benin City in Edo State. So I think to come out plain so that people get to know what their effort in helping in key issues or key areas. So he has come out to say this is the amount that the physician would have spent if not for the help, for the donation sponsorship from these universities. And he even went on to name some of the athletes that were sponsored. So I think for me it's a nice one. Gone are the days when some of these things would have, even if they...
Athletes, courtesy of the universities where these athletes are schooling and of course plying their trade. You remember athletes like Ashe Favor, Rosemary Chukuma, Grace Wukocha, Les Gosin Brume, Amarachi Obi, Knowledge Omovo, Ruth Osoro, Udodi Ozorike, Emmanuel Ime, Ezekiel Nathaniel, Prosper Chicherem, and of course Ima Obong, not forgetting Ezine Abba, are some of the Nigerian athletes who are based in the United States of America. They school in the universities in the United States of America, and at the same time, continue to ply their trade. And they oftentimes have their tickets purchased by universities, and of course, this is on behalf of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria. And I think this thing is symbiotic. It is the athletes give their services to the university, and of course, help project the image of the university. At the same time, they have been trained for competitions here in competitions for Nigeria. Case in point is the World Athletics Championship coming up in the United States of America in July this month, in the next 14 days or so. And of course the Commonwealth Games. All of these are while the athletes compete and of course get some kind of rebates and sponsorship from the school, they equally help Nigeria get their job done. So I think it's good, at least for once we're having admittance from the officials of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, unlike in the past where this would have been a source of making money. So I think this is credit to the Okuwa-led board of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria for some level of transparency and sincerity. Let's stay away from athletics now and go to the Ultimate Fight Championship, where Nigerian New Zealander Israel Adesanya, called the Stylebender, had taken out its opponent to retain its Ultimate Fight Championship middleweight title, UFC 765. This is good news. This is the fourth time Israel Adesanya is having to defend his title and of course come out victorious.
Yeah, it's fourth time. Very lucky. When a fight gets to the last round and it has to be the judges that will call, it's always very dicey. But somehow he was able to get a resounding victory from the judges. 49-46, 49-46, and then 50-45. So it just tells you that he did his homework very well. And there's no way he would have thought of knocking out this man in the octagon, in knockout or kick out. It would have been very difficult, but somehow he knew what he wanted and he did it. He started training early this year, and he has talked about this bout so much that he really wanted it. For me, I'm happy for him, if not for anything, the fact that he's been able to win 21 fights now. He has fought 22 times and lost. Out of 21 fights, he has lost just one. And for me, it's a good one winning against Connor. Connor is the one holding this belt, and now that he has won this one, that he's now undisputed, in the middleweight. And hopefully, he lost the last time when he went into the lightweight. And I just hope that with this win now, this will galvanize and also prepare him for the one. But as stands now, I think it's the undisputed bout in the middleweight.
Well, Ultimate Fight Championship 276 winner Israel Adesanya of Nigeria, now a New Zealander. I think this is his 22nd victory and had only one loss in the Ultimate Fight Championship. And now I'm very sure that Jared Karunier will now know that yes, there's a certain Nigerian who is dominant at the Ultimate Fight Championship 276. Well, let's hope that we can have Israel Adesanya move up on the belt. This is a middleweight title fight, and I think the only one where he had to lose was when he was trying to move up. Let's see whether he can continue to do that. But the fans are there at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, United States of America, early hours of yesterday morning. Had a lot of fun, courtesy of that very dominant victory coming from Israel Adesanya, called the Last Style Bender. I think that's congratulations to him and of course to Nigeria's Floors the Ultimate Fight Championship as well. Let's stay away from that and go to basketball, and it's jubilation in Bayelsa State because two teams from the state have been victorious at the basketball championship just concluded in Lagos, Nigeria. This is very cheering because we have the National Secondary School Basketball Championship that took place in Lagos, and one team has been very dominant. I think this is their seventh or if not the eighth-time win coming from the not just for the people of Bayelsa State but for the governor himself, who has been very supportive of sports in Bayelsa. He was a former sports commissioner and he knows what it means to support sports.
Yeah, Mr. Dure, I think it's coming timely, and I mean, when you sow, you reap. It's a normal balance, and for me, I think that what we're seeing from Bayelsa State is as a result of a few years of having a sports commissioner who understands the workings of sports and activity. A sports commissioner who is not just based on football alone. A sports commissioner who understands. I'm talking about the person of Gali, who since he emerged, I'm working with a man, a governor who is also a sport-loving governor. You're going to see flair in the sporting industry, and that's what we're seeing. So for me, it's good. Yeah, they've dominated the national championship, and for me, it's a good one. Now that they even have, they've seen their female team emerge victorious. That shows that they are really building. And if you go to the state now, they have different, they are building, working on infrastructures. We've seen before now, we've seen the likes of Delta State, Lagos, Edo State, building. But now we're seeing a state in the Niger Delta who are also doing very well, and it brings my mind to what we're doing here in River State. So for me, why I congratulate them, I hope that this is a sweet and a mellifluous victory coming all the way to Bayelsa State. And look at, to show you that they are really working, they have a good sporting policy that is really directing what they do in their activities of sport. They just recently won a whole lot in football. The women team will be representing Nigeria, at the CAF Women's Champions League. A whole lot of glory coming that way. So it just shows that if you sow very well, you're going to reap magnificently. So for me, I think that is a good one for Bayelsa State, and no surprises why this man is sharing his team, hoping that he can even do very well. Not just in this area, they're also doing very well in athletics. We saw the way what happened in wrestling and all that just mentioned. So I think for Bayelsa State right now, they are the hub of activities when it comes to sports in Nigeria.
Bayelsa State clearly very busy when it comes to sports, and not just in infrastructure, but in conscious development of the sports, using the infrastructure they have, and at the same time trying to discover talents to replace what we have. You talked about wrestling, there's Bayelsa State. You talk about football, there's Bayelsa State as well. This is really cheering with the senior basketball team of Nigeria in action as well right now. Let's go to that. We saw the basketball team of Nigeria take out their counterparts from Mali without having to tip off because Mali was walked over, the second walkover by Mali, and so Nigeria had 20 points there. And after that 20-point victory, coming off a loss to Cape Verde, they had to now beat Uganda in the last match, qualification match yesterday. It ended 91-72 for Nigeria against Uganda. The victory aside, before we look at what it means to the Tigers of Nigeria, FIBA, the world governing body for basketball, has come hard on Mali.
Yeah, FIBA has come hard on Mali. I mean, you don't, regardless of any issues, I mean, you don't avoid playing a game in a competition. It shows disrespect. It shows that you're not organized. It shows
but
that
the Malian basketball team, the male basketball team, are already in Kigali. They are at the NBK Arena in Kigali. They arrive for the competition, but they refuse to step onto the court.
It's a way of protesting. It's a glaring issue in Africa that some of these federations have a way of not treating the players well, like we've seen so far in Nigeria. And so part of the ways that the players want to revolt and also to see how far they can confront the situation is to protest internally by coming to that program in Kigali, but refusing to be on the court to honor their game. And for me, regardless of what you say, at the level of FIFA look at it differently. And whichever internal rancor, internal issues should be settled internally and not externally. So for FIFA, it's a disrespect to them. And of course, who being this? When you owe your players, I mean, there's no motivation to go play. So the players, for them, they have a clear reason why they did that. But unfortunately, they did that at their own detriment, because this will not just affect them, it will also affect the national female team who are already in top position to be at the World Cup this year.
Mali given a serious hammer there by the FIBA, the governing body of World Basketball, owing to their no-show at the FIBA qualifier ongoing in Kigali. We are told that the Malian basketball players, male basketball players, are being owed over 20 months of emoluments, and that's quite a long stretch. I just hope that they can find a way to sort this one out. But talking about female basketball team of Mali having to replace Nigeria, we are equally told that the NBBF president, that is Nigerian Basketball Federation President Musa Kida, who is in Kigali as well, is having some talks, serious talks with FIBA officials aimed at trying to see the reinstatement of the Tigress of Nigeria at the FIBA basketball coming up in Australia. How far is this moves going?
I think it's a well thought out one. Nigeria, they have schemers when it comes to administrative activities and policies, and they are looking at this loophole now as a very good advantage for them to get that. Please don't forget that they were able to. They came on time and they were able to fix themselves into the qualifiers in the male category. Now that they are still begging FIBA to see how far. And over the years, if you look at the workings of basketball in Africa, you will know that one country has a romance, a clear-cut romance with FIBA. That's Nigeria. Otherwise, it would have been doomed for them for a very long time. But somehow, FIBA truly want Nigeria to represent, knowing fully well they also have the population and the sponsorship when it comes to the branding, that tournament. So the advantage is, okay, let's use this advantage of Mali, who of course are having internal and financial issues, to see what we can do. And somehow, if FIBA considers that their plea is in the right direction, they might just all start Mali. Besides, if they have banned the May team and they're also giving them some bit of sanction there, I think somehow it will also trickle down to the female team, because if you cannot pay your male players, I'm just wondering how you're going to prepare them 2 months to the time, in Australia. So I think that the Nigerian team, the Nigerian NBBF, as chaired by Musa Kida, they are thinking in that direction, and just maybe it might work, except a valid reason given by the Malian, for it. But I think that stands now, the onus is on FIBA to make a clear-cut decision, knowing fully well, foreseeing what might play out in the next couple of months.
Well, FIBA and the Nigerian Basketball Federation in some kind of talks aimed at the reinstatement of the D-Tigers, the female basketball team of Nigeria, at the World Cup coming up in Australia. We'd like to wish them best of luck because it would be very, very, meaning for the girls who, if they eventually don't get it. But for the Malians, if you don't pay your basketball players, then there is no way they can really be happy competing, especially at the world level. So it's a lot of intrigues. Let's see how it pans out. But meanwhile, the Tigers, the male basketball team of Nigeria, are into the next round, courtesy of the no-show appearance of Mali. Uganda, Nigeria are already into the next round of qualifying for the FIBA male basketball.
For the D-Tigers, I think it's a good one. It's cherry news for them. I mean, it would have been difficult to really predict what would be the outcome if Mali had come out in full force.
In fact, 3 of them, I left out Cape Verde. Against Cape Verde, Nigeria and Uganda now have qualified from that group, following the no-show appearance of Mali.
That's a good point for Uganda. They'll be very happy. At least they have a full 20 points. The same with the Tigers, and the 3 of them now have qualified to the second round. Let's hope that for the Tigers this will be a clear-cut learning. I mean, I don't also blame them. I think fatigue somehow came in. We saw Alan Major, the man who is in charge of the team, came out to say that the turnovers, they had 4 turnovers in the first game against Cape Verde. And no surprise why they lost 9 points, to Cape Verde. Cape Verde, a very small island. You wonder how good they were on that day for the Tigers, African champions, to really lose to them 9 points. So it surprises me, and I think that they need to do more in the free throw-ins and the whole lot of dunking. So, I mean, this one now, they will play Uganda next. Let's hope that, regardless, it will really help them as they push for the qualification in the AFCON this year.
Well, away from that story coming in from the world of basketball, we'll take a short break. When we return from the break, we'll let you know that Carlos Sainz has won his first Formula 1 title. Details of this and many more will be yours when we return from the break. Stay in there. Welcome to yet another half of Sports Talk here, and this time around we're into Formula One, where 142,000 fans out there in Silverstone and millions around the world saw Ferrari win his first Formula One title. This is cheering for the man from Ferrari. An incident-packed Formula One event at Silverstone. There was a crash that saw 5 other drivers, have issues. There was issues with Albon. There was issue with Russell. There was issues with Bottas. Not forgetting Gasly and of course Ocon. 5 of these drivers had issues of a Alfa Romeo crash out there in Silverstone. And surprisingly, this crash took place in the very first lap, opening lap of the event.
Yeah, a very unfortunate one. The incident-driven edition of at the British Grand Prix. We haven't seen that, and I'm still trying to know why. But it started, very early. AlphaTauri. We saw the fault coming from the drivers of those constructors and the mix-up there. But I think that are just in a different position to see how far they can meet up, and that urge and that agitation to move faster might have resulted in what we saw yesterday, which truly aggravated a whole lot and also disturbed how it would have transferred originally. But somehow, when things like this happens in Formula One, it is at the detriment of some team and constructors, while some would laugh at that at the end of the day, and that's what we saw. And for Carlos Sainz, I think it's a good one for him that he has won. But one thing certain is that I hope that it will not occur again. I've always talked about it, and even some point yesterday talked about it. Those accidents, it could have cost life. We saw one that played out last season. But somehow, I just hope that the drivers involved were not deadly wounded, as some came out alive. And for me,
to the halo device that is fitted to the vehicle and the driver, that's what actually saved him there. Lewis Hamilton as well to the podium.
Yeah, for Carlos Sainz, this is he has been one man who has been working. We saw how poor they were last season, but this season we started brilliantly. I could see of what Charles Leclerc was able to do in the first 2 races, 3. But somehow, now that he's done, he himself has shown that he can even achieve more in Formula One. Being the first time he's winning a podium finish, finishing in the podium. Also, truly, he started very, very well. He was in pole position, even the qualifiers, and he had his own. At some point, Lewis Hamilton was really giving him a tough run, but in the last 8 laps, it was a difficult one between him and Sergio Perez and Lewis Hamilton. But somehow, dramatically, he was able to get this one. So for me, it's going to be a sensational finish. I love the way he spoke at the post-race briefing, where he talked about his aspiration and he thinks that he can even achieve more, and this will truly prepare him. So for me, it's a good one. Yes, it might not be easy for them to bridge the gap between them and Red Bull, but somehow as a driver, he's able to lift himself to a higher ground and at least a higher point, constructor's point. So for me, it's a good one that they are top drivers dominating the series, and that's the beauty that I've seen so far this season. So congratulations to Carlos Sainz.
Congratulations to Carlos Sainz, the winner of this year's Silverstone Grand Prix, that we'll probably call the British Grand Prix in Formula One. But just before we get out of Formula One, there was an incident yesterday as well. Apart from the crash, there was protesters on the grid, and they were later cleared by the police. We are told that these protesters were making protests against what happened to Lewis Hamilton, homeboy, at the last Grand Prix last year, where because of mistake on the part of the race director, we saw Red Bull's Max Verstappen winning, or do I say stopping Lewis Hamilton from making title number 8 in the Formula One, and that looks like making these protesters very unhappy, and decided to show their displeasure on the grid yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's understandable. This is the home ground of, or the home Grand Prix of Lewis Hamilton, who a lot. And yesterday we saw a different winner emerge. But one thing that I know for sure that will take place, if you know how zealous and how agitated British fans are all over in all sporting activities, you expect it yesterday, because we saw what played out at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. We had, through the safety car incident, ensured that Max Verstappen claims his first championship last season against the detriment of Lewis Hamilton, who would have made it 8th if he had won that particular one. So, not many fans were happy, especially British fans. They felt that, Max Verstappen got that in the crooked means, and the only way to voice that was to show their resentment yesterday against Max Verstappen. And I'm very certain that they will be very happy that he was not even in the podium yesterday because of the way the team pound that. So I think that for British fans, you always expect them to showcase their anger, especially dislike or disdain, whenever they feel that something is not in their favor.
Well, British fans are showing their displeasure there. They were cleared by the police out there at Silverstone. But one thing goes clear. Lewis Hamilton himself is saying he does not support fans booing any driver. The same thing coming from the director of Mercedes himself, saying that booing is not part of the sports and that the fans have some other ways of showing their displeasure and not by booing drivers out there at the Grand Prix.
Of course, what do we expect? I mean, for the sake of sportsmanship, you just see the drivers coming out to say, but we cannot take the fact that he may not even have known about the plan or the plot by the fans to do what they did. But you cannot stop the fans. Fans are always the fans. I mean, sometimes they surprise you, and maybe it came as a surprise, especially at a time when Lewis Hamilton was truly having an issue with Piquet, who spoke against him, and that was started to be racism. So I think that for anything that concerns Lewis Hamilton, a lot of persons will have sympathy, even if he's not been performing very well. But recently we've seen him grow up and continue to see if we can get something this season. But I think that the fans, no way, we do not support anything that will result to violence, because just imagine what will be if they go to the Dutch Grand Prix, or which of course had been, and then we'll start seeing the same thing melted back to Lewis Hamilton. So I think that we do not tolerate anything that would bridge, peace, that would bring chaos in the sport. I'm not surprised is why we saw Lewis Hamilton coming out to vent against what he did, and also for Toto Wolff, who came out also to say this is not part of the sport and it should be prohibited.
Well, the British Grand Prix is come and gone with just like Carlos Sainz coming in the first position. Second place was Charles, of course, I'm sorry, Sergio Perez, who of course he drives for Red Bull, and of course the third place position went to Lewis Hamilton of Mercedes. You're asking her where is the position of Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen has come in the first 7th position, but still on the Drivers' Championship he leads with 24 points, well over his teammates there. So it is Max Verstappen leading on the Drivers' Championship, but for Grand Prix at the British Grand Prix, I'm talking about Silverstone, it is Carlos Sainz who is winning his very first in his Formula 1's career. So we say congratulations to him, and this hope will be the first of many to come.
Since 1922, this is making it 100 years now. We're going to see this one, and I think that it is good that we saw some bit of celebration. One thing outstanding that I somewhat love about the Western in the Western part divide of is the record keeping, and the fact that they can follow it up vividly. We saw that Remembrance Day, and what better way to celebrate how it's all started, when they moved to Church Road and they nicknamed it Center Court. And so far we have seen a lot of champions emanate from this particular place, and we just saw some of them yesterday being celebrated, the likes of Roger Federer, Pet Sampras, and we saw these names to be celebrated. And this obviously is traditional, because it seems this is the oldest court in tennis, and no surprise why it was celebrated in grand style.
100 years of Center Court. The championship moved to the East Present side at the Church Road way back in 1922, we are told, and is now being celebrated. It has a capacity of about nearly 15,000. We have 14,979 as a seating capacity for the Center Court out there. And it looks like, yes, no doubt, what the celebration yesterday, like April mentioned, we saw some big stars, those who have enjoyed their performances at the Center Court, come out there. There was John McEnroe out there as well. There was Roger Federer, who is presently injured. Venus Williams, and of course the sister Serena Williams were out there. It was unfortunate we couldn't find Martina Navratilova, one woman who has won most times at the Center Court there. She's won 9 times. No other tennis player has won 9 times at the Center Court. He was there. Not forgetting Roger Federer, another veteran, 40-year-old Roger Federer has won 8 times. I think she's next. He's next to Martina Navratilova, was there as well. But talking about the absence of Martina Navratilova, the most winner at the Center Court, we are told she's tested positive to COVID-19, and COVID can't stop continue to claim people at stop people from their performances at the Wimbledon. This is the 5th incident of COVID we're hearing. Though this, for Martina, she was not actually at the Wimbledon, but we've seen 4 other top Wimbledon players testing positive to COVID-19.
Very unfortunate for Martina there. I mean, this is, she said it that this is this type of ceremony that you want to attend, and knowing fully whether he has the record of most win, at the center court. And I mean, it would have been a cheering one for her. I saw the way fans are cheering their legends, and I mean, I just felt for the woman who a lot of people would have wanted to see, And for me, I just think that COVID truly has not really departed our space, and that's why, a lot of preventions, a lot of precautions, a lot of counseling there that people should still try, especially in the Western world. And even organizers of Wimbledon are also they are doing their best to ensure that these things are well placed so that we don't have a massive turnout of COVID-19 patients. So I mean, unfortunate for her, but that's the beauty of the celebration. She was able to speak out. She went on her Twitter handle to really commend the organizers for the celebration and the fact that she missed out. So for me, I hope that subsequently they will continue to celebrate the center court, and ambassadors like this will always come on board. And I hope that the next time out, she will be fine and better fit to be there.
Well, I would say congratulations to the organizers of the Wimbledon, and of course, Center Court. Center Court only joined 100 years ago, but the Wimbledon Championship has been on over 150 something years. But for me, one spectacle that I enjoyed yesterday, watching that Center Court celebration or centenary, was the presence of refugees, especially from Ukraine and Afghanistan. They send a lot of message around the world.
Yes, it's lovely. I mean, the recognition of those who fought hard to ensure that some of these things come to pass is one thing that impressed me. For refugees coming out, they were part of the celebration. I mean, the beauty, the scene was truly one that lived up to his billing. Recognizing them and being part of them. Showcasing that yes, there is unity when it comes to hearing the voice of those who are passing through some of the societal challenges. But for me, the organizers it was a very well planned program for me, and we saw them. Even those who also did very well when it comes to the COVID-19 issue, they were also celebrated. And for me, it doesn't get better than what we saw yesterday, Mr. Siri.
It doesn't get better than what we saw yesterday. 100 years of the center court at the event there, All England Club, that is popularly called the Wimbledon. Let's look at the pitch, or do I say the court action now? Novak Djokovic, world number 3, has taken out his opponent at the round of 16, Tim Van Rijthoven, to meet. Now he's expected to have, do I say, a quarterfinal appearance against Jannik Sinner, the man that has been a big winner, if you ask me.
Yeah, for Rijthoven, he was a wild card coming into this one. I mean, a lot of person was. They felt that it would be, I mean, the way the young man went to qualify to the round of 16 was surprising. And white cards, they don't have anything to lose, so the best way is to give all, because I saw that one, he was able to drag one set in that thrilling encounter. But the world number 1, who of course is hoping to get his 4th title this year, if he felt that this one will not stop him from achieving that feat. Now that he's in the quarterfinals, I hope that Jannik Sinner, who also had a beautiful time yesterday, will pose some bit of threat, but somehow I've seen a resilience, some sort of resilience from Novak Djokovic, who the only man that can stop him right now is Rafael Nadal.
Talking about Novak Djokovic, world number 3 right now in tennis, up against world number 104 from Holland, Van Rijthoven. But that match went into 4 sets. We saw the 104 ranked player from Holland take the 2nd set. Are you saying that Novak Djokovic had to dig deep?
Yeah, he dug deep to get that particular one. I mean, no one saw that coming. When he won 4-6, a lot of person had expected that. That was very, very surprising. And I think Novak in his post-match briefing talked about the serve and how he was distracted a little bit by the way the fast pace of the man. And one thing I love about Novak Djokovic is when you display excellently, he comes out in his post-match and gives you that credit. So that second set was truly one that threw him upside down. Somehow he regained back consciousness and he was able to get the last 2 sets, and that ensured that he went on to win that particular encounter.
It was yet another 4th set at the Wimbledon in the match between Carlos Alcaraz and, of course, Jannik Sinner. Jannik Sinner took out the young Spaniards by 6-1, 6-4, 6-7, 6-3 in a 4th setter there. Carlos Alcaraz, the do I say the young Rafa Nadal. He's lost his chance here now. We expected him to at least go to the crucial stage, given his excellent performance on the ATP tour.
Yeah, on the ATP tour, Mr. Siri, you understand that he's not a very good player when it comes to grass courts. I mean, he's talked about it before now, that he's hoping to learn how to play it in the grass court. And when I saw this one, Jannik Sinner had a superb at-class team in all dimensions yesterday. He was better prepared, he was better relaxed, his serves were balanced, and the way he was also, throwing the ball. I took my time to watch why Carlos Alcaraz lost to Jannik Sinner in such an awful manner. So for me, I think that one thing does certain, you could see that he was even trying to hold his own in that game. But if you look at the way he has played so far, coming into that one between him and Jannik Sinner yesterday, you have to say that I mean, what could have happened, because he had not also played poorly. He has dropped a lot of sets, but somehow one would have expected that he should win at least a major set, but he was unable to win anyone yesterday. And I mean, Jannik Sinner truly a better player if you match the effort between them.
Jannik Sinner, no doubt, the better player. Let's see what will happen in the match between him and, of course, the man with the longest winning streak at the Wimbledon. That's talking about Novak Djokovic. He next takes on Jannik Sinner, and it promises to be very tough encounter there. Then there's only one British man that is doing so well right now. He's into the last 8 now, talking about Cameron Norrie.
Cameron Norrie, yeah, he got better off Tommy Paul yesterday, and I mean, he's bearing the hopes of 60,000 millions of British fans who, when he was asked yesterday, he said that they need to gun around him and see if he can support. But I tell you, when it has to do with on-court event, it's about you and your opponent. And so for me, it's a good one, especially when we had expected Heather Watson to do yesterday. It was hosted out by a certain lady there. So I think that for Cameron Norrie, it's long calling, and he's currently #1 British player. Let's hope that he will be able to do well in his own soil, tennis event, Grand Slam. If he gets to the semi-finals, I mean, a lot of person will be treating him, and you know how these British fans are. When their own is currently doing well, they rally around and give maximum support and intimidating support for that matter. I just hope that they will do that for Norrie, who will be playing against a man who a lot of people expect to also be a tough contender.
Enough of the ATP and the men at the Wimbledon. Let's look at what the women are doing. The ouster of world #1 in female tennis, Iga Swiatek, has given some kind of ray of hope to Africans that Onjeba, who is the world #2 in female tennis, has an opportunity to win her first Grand Slam.
At 27, it's expected that this might just be another one. Of course, she's in pole position now. If you look at it from that perspective, as world #2, and coming into this particular one, basking on the euphoria of all she has achieved this season, I think that she's the only player in the women category yet to drop a set so far, and going into this one. So I think that with the way she has gone and the way she has played, you won't be surprised that she'll get to the final. If she gets to the final, I tell you, it will be very difficult to oust her out. Even if I still feel that if you look at the female category, like the games we're going to be seeing today, the likes of Halep, a lot of players are still there to do the magic. But I hope that she will hold her own strongly, because anything could happen. No one would have believed that Annette Cornet, of the French woman, would be able to oust out a certain Iga Swiatek. So I mean, it's difficult to really predict. But I hope that she gets to the finals, and she gets to the finals, a lot of people will predict that she will win this one.
Onjeba, world #2, Africa, of course, Tunisia's tennis player there, taking out our opponent, Belgian Elise Martens, 7-6, 6-4. A little bit difficult tie, but it was a straight set victory for the world #1 from Africa. Up next for her at the Wimbledon will be Maria Boskova, the world #66. So it will be world #2 against world #66 in the quarterfinal stage, and that will be very cheering one. If the African takes it up, we will be very happy to see the only Tunisian rank inside of the top 700 now, world #2. In the tennis, that's a big one. And with the ouster of the world #1, Iga Swiatek, she has an opportunity, if she wins the quarterfinal, of going to the very crucial stage. It's unfortunate that there is no ranking points, but if there were ranking points, then this will have opportunity for her to be emerged as the world #1. I'm sure the whole rest of Africa, Tunisia especially, are feeling sad that there's no ranking point going for this Wimbledon.
Certainly, Mr. Siri, certainly. And that is why the loss is not as painful to Iga Swiatek as one would have imagined. Because when you lose to Alice Cornet, who knows how to get the better of her opponent in the third round, especially in this center court. We saw what she did to Serena Williams years ago, when Serena was the world #1 same, and also had a winning streak. So she stopped that winning streak. Now again, she has a record for stopping winning streak against world number one, especially in the Wimbledon. So I just hope that for Iga Schwartz, for Ons Jabeur, this would have been a rosy one for her, because getting to the semi-finals alone would have cut the margin. The margin between them is at about 4,000 points, and so since we know that there is big point, unfortunately there's no ranking point this year. That would have been a massive one for her if there was points originally. So I think that a lot of persons will not be happy truly. But I mean, if she gets to win the money, and with the beauty and the glamour we have seen with this year's Wimbledon, I think that it will not be a regret.
Well, if you're having a winning streak, be wary of a certain Alice Conner, because she will stop you. She stopped Serena Williams. She has 37 winning run, stopped by Alice Conner. No doubt, very fearsome player when it comes to playing against players that has the winning streak at the Wimbledon. Well, that's the much we can take from the world of tennis. We'll take a pause now. When we return from the break, we'll get to football, where there's been some exciting information coming across Africa. When we return from the break, we'll let you know what is making Africa happy at football. Stay with us. I'll let you know why the rest of Africa this morning is very happy in the world of football. Let's see the latest development in the Nigerian Professional Football League. Rivers United winners, no doubt, but there's still need to know who will qualify for the sole ticket in the CAF Confederations Cup. There are about 6 teams jostling for that ticket, April. There is Remo Stars, there is Kwara United, there is Aqua, and there is 3 other teams trying to struggle for that position. Which of these teams will make it Remo Stars or Kwara United that have made a very strong surge for that number 3 position, though they are presently fourth?
Yeah, for Remo Stars, I think we saw them at the echelon of the league, the table this season. They somehow they had issues, and now they're still fighting. If you look at their point margin, they have 56 points, followed by Kwara United, Enugu Rangers, and Eyimba. And if you look at the one who stands tall to get this one, you just but say that it's going to be between Remo Stars and Kwara United. The reason is simple. Eyimba recently have lost games that you had expected them to win. And for Remo Stars, I play with their man, Kunle Tsunami, who is really giving them massive support. I tell you, the last two games, it will be very, very difficult, because they have one to play at home. They are in Remo Ikene, precisely, and they have to travel away. So their desire now is to win, at least get a maximum point away from home, which will be very, very crucial for them. If they get to pick that point, I tell you for sure that there is no way Remo Stars will lose at home, to any team. So I think it's very dicey. So they have the title now, the sole ticket of the Confederation Cup to lose. And I think that between Kwara United and Remo Stars, one of them will go. Enugu Rangers, very consistent recently. Unfortunately, we saw them also fought at Eyimba. I mean, they tried, but I don't see them picking a continental ticket.
Well, let's give you the good news coming to football followers in Africa. We have been told by CAF, the Confederation of African Football, in conjunction with the FIFA president in the meeting, that there will be an African Super League from next year, and that African Super League is worth $100 million US dollars. That's quite a lot of money coming to African football. $100 million African Super League from next year. Any team that wins that Super League will go home with over $10 million US dollars as their own purse money from the available 100 that will be shared amongst 24 teams that will take part in this African Super League. We are told the 24 teams will be ranked, will be picked based on FIFA ranking. So a lot of money coming to African football for the very first time, April.
A lot of money coming in, and I just fear for the CAF Champions League because when you have a Super League that has more money pumped in, just about tell you that playing at the CAF Champions League maybe for the record purposes and trying to just help yourself. But I think this will really boost Africa, unlike the one we saw in Europe, We are seeing one that emanates from the idea is and the dream is emanating from the administration of CAF, and that's the beauty, unlike the one we've seen in Europe. So I think that we're going to see a well-contested league, but like I said, I fear for the CAF Champions League and the Continental Showpiece.
Well, still talk about money in African football. The African Women Cup of Nations is underway in Morocco. A lot of money is coming to that one as well. There's increased sports money this time around. We are told 500,000 US dollar will be what the winner of the competition will take, as against 300,000 they had last time around. But no problem about that. The big news in the African Women's Cup of Nations is that Super Falcons of Nigeria are up against their counterparts, Bayana of South Africa. One word from that one, because we're running out of time quickly.
The last time they defeated them in 2018, and if not for COVID, I think they would have also hoped that they can win that 10th title. But now that they are going to play this season, I just hope that Bayana, who defeated them back, who got that revenge at the Aisha Barry Cup, they will hold their own strongly. I see them as a very tough encounter. This is the final before final, and I hope that Super Falcons will live up to his billing, especially at the time when CAF has said that 500,000 US dollars will be given to the winner of this year's outcome. So I hope that Falcons will do the needful, especially with this match, to show that yes, we are defending champions and want to win this cup.
While Falcons are looking for their 10th title at the African Women Cup of Nations, the South Africans are looking for their very first. So it looks very dicey. Desperate South Africans out there against very confident Super Falcons of Nigeria. But talking about AFCON, African Cup of Nations, for if you are full of football in the continent of Africa, there will be no African Cup of Nations next year, because CAF have said that the competition for next year has been postponed to 2024, January to February in 2024, because of the weather condition next year. Let's say in Cote d'Ivoire, we are told the competition is supposed to return back to June, July, and of course that's the peak of rainfall in Africa.
Since 2017, when they changed the dynamics from the year January, February to June, July, I mean, we've seen some persons, and that would have been best for teams, players who are playing, African players playing their trade in Europe, because we saw the dispute between European clubs not releasing their players, and some of them coming back not to have game time again. So I think that the best way would have been to keep it there, but unfortunately, Cote d'Ivoire will be hosting, and that period will be thick of the rainy season for them, and the best way is to shift it. And because of the World Cup this year, which is of course the first winter World Cup, it's going to be very impossible for them to also play it next year, January, February. So the best is to move it to 2024.
Offer, he has agreed to leave Manchester United, and of course that's not good news for Manchester United fans. But if you're an Arsenal fan, jersey number 9 has been given to Gabriel Jesus, who has been officially unveiled as a player of Arsenal from Manchester City. That will be much we can take on this edition of the program. We'll be back at 6 p.m. Nigerian time, where we'll be taking a look at some of the biggest news coming up from the continent of Africa, especially from the world of basketball and in football. Until when we return, remember, here on Atlantic Television Network Sports Edition, we can continue to interact on the Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network. But if you're on Twitter, we can do that interaction at Atlantic TV Net. And like we say, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Continue to enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.
It's the people making the difference in our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields and serve as role models today. ATN Icons, showing every Sunday 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes DTH channel 194, ATN Live on Google App Store, Facebook Atlantic Television Network, YouTube Atlantic Television Network, Instagram Atlantic TV Network, Twitter Atlantic TV Net. For sponsorship 0810 634 1777. ATN Icons, celebrating the giants of our time.
the people, the candidate, the party.
United Kingdom leaving.
Prime Minister, I've said we must get on and get Brexit done on October the 31st so that this country can move on.
For the Nigerian government to stop killing its people and but I remain committed to the United Kingdom leaving.
Since I became Prime Minister, I've said we must get on and get Brexit done on October the 31st so that this country can move on.
My amendment is that Mr. President should be invited to come and explain the situation.
For the Nigerian government to stop killing its people and
We'll call it a wet morning right here in the city of Port Harcourt. I don't know whether it's wet where you are, Lagos, Abuja, or any other part of the world viewing us live. This is Open Conversation on the first working day in this week, actually, which is a Monday. It's our network's flagship political platform through which trending political news, events, and stories are discussed with stakeholders. Through these conversations, ATN uses political talks about specific issues, party systems, and other actors in the setting today to really make informed information. So if you're not joining us, those were the synapses I just read out to you. So it's a beautiful morning. Well, it's politics we're going to be discussing. A lot of things are happening in the political scene. First is the VP slot issues in the APC. Well, APC having their fair share of issues today. PDP is also having its fair share. Also, two major parties having their fair share. First, is APC governors insist on colleague as, compensation. They want the northeast sector of the country to really produce the vice president of the APC in the 2023 election, which is going to be the running mate of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The next is Atiku Abubakar, governors orders to visit Wike in reconciliatory move. Well, we'll see how that move is going to really take place, or if it's going to yield any result. As we have it today, that the governor's also been quiet. I told you yesterday that the governor also is right here in the city of Port Harcourt. Actually, he came back from Turkey with his counterpart, Okeze Ikpeazu of Abia State. Next is Kwankwaso has given reasons why he will not be a running mate to Peter Obi in the 2023 election. He says, he's putting it that the northern delegates and all the people from the north actually has a larger say than he does for the 2023, and he's actually contesting because of the move and the motivation from them. Now, towards 2023, be tolerant of others' views. Obi urges supporters. Well, there's been some people really, it's like when you touch Obi right now, it's like you're touching some great large number of youths in the country, and they just really give you some backlash and attacks and reactions towards any talk you have about Peter Obi right now. So these are one of the issues, but Obi is telling them that you need to really calm down. This is not the way to go about it. Well, we'll see how that goes. We're going to be analyzing such matters again. And last is we go to the West, where Oshu is preparing for its 2022 gubernatorial election. APC PDP accused of buying, stockpiling voters' cards. That's Accord Party making that accusation. Now, in what happened in Ekiti State on June 18th, where we had the APC carrying the day, which is we have Oyebenji Imagine on that platform now as the governor of Ekiti State. We also had SDP coming second, and PDP came third. Accord Party really was one of the least, but they were not really first, second, third. And now they're accusing most of the two major parties of stockpiling voters' cards for the 2022 elections in Osun State. We'll see how that accusation really goes today. And those are the matters we get to discuss on today's Open Conversation. I will be with you shortly after this break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
But I remain committed to the United Kingdom leaving.
Since I became Prime Minister, I've said we must get on and get Brexit done on October the 31st so that this country can move on.
Sir, my amendment is that Mr. President should be invited to come and explain the situation.
For the Nigerian government to stop killing its people and
Since I became Prime Minister, I've said we must get on and get Brexit done on October the 31st so that this country can move on.
Sir, my amendment is that Mr. President should be invited to come and explain the situation.
for the Nigerian government to stop killing its people and
Made today is Open Conversation. Welcome back from that break. I am Namdi Uzuku. So we're moving on now with the issue on ground, which is the first. The ruling party is also on the table of being dissected this morning, and as the issue of running mate. Now, strong indications emerged weekend that governors-elect on a platform of the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, are insisting that the Northern Extraction really comes up on board today. As they're insisting on a sitting colleague to be picked as vice presidential candidate to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the 2023 elections, following the role they played in his emergence as the flag bearer. It was gathered in a daily that the governors are also pushing for Tinubu's running mates to come from the northeast, particularly from Borno State. And that if, on the other hand, it goes to the northwest, it should not be Casino State, which the placeholder is actually from. That's Masari is actually from now. Now, they said again, they said they have contended that since Casino produced late President Umaru Yar'Adua and incumbent President Muhammad Buhari, it shouldn't be considered. Now, it was also learned that another group in the progressive governors camp is pushing for the Northwest geopolitical zone to produce the vice president or vice presidential candidate. While looking in the direction of Governor Nasiru El-Rufai of Kaduna State, Governor Abdullahi Gandoje of Kano, and Governor Atiku Abubakar of Kebbi State, a source told the National Daily that the sitting governors want the APC presidential candidate to compensate them for the role they played before the convention, where they killed the move by national chairman of the party, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, to have a consensus presidential candidate in person of the president of the Senate, Senator Ahmed Lawan from Yobe State. Now, the source says the APC governors are pushed that the presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, should pick his vice presidential candidate from among them because of the role they played to stop the action of the APC national chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, who had already settled for the president of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, as the presidential candidate of the ruling party. Now, there are strong feelings that though the governors want one of them, Tinubu wants Senator Kasim Shettima as his vice presidential candidate. From the look of things, Governor Nasiru El-Rufai of Kaduna and Governor Abdullahi Gandoje of Kano, despite the fact that they are strong supporters of Tinubu, are out of the scheming process, as it appears that the race for the running mate may have been reduced to just two men. They are the governor of Borno State, Babangana Zulum, and his predecessor, Kashim Shettima. The dilemma at the moment, it was gathered, is that while the governors prefer a sitting governor in person of Babangana Zulum of Borno State, Tinubu said to have zeroed his search on former governor of Borno State, Senator Kashim Shettima, who currently represents Borno Central in the Senate. A source told the National Daily that Tinubu preferred Shettima because he had been in the forefront of his presidential struggle. It was gathered that he wants to settle for Shettima because he is politically on ground, a formidable force, and well accepted in the Northeast in order to split joining me to do justice to these trending and serious issues affecting our political landscape. Let's first, it goes by the name George Azunda Chinda, a social commentator and a public affairs analyst today. Thank you, George. Good morning to you. It's a pleasure having you again. Join me. So we're starting up with this first issue on ground. The APC now is on the front board right now, making the rounds in the news. And it's the issue of the VP slot, which some league or colleagues today feel that it should be given to someone who is out of the Northeast, right? Saying that the Northeast produced, we have the former president, yes, Musa Yaradua, and also the current president, Muhammadu Buhari. So obviously they are ruling out Masari, who is also a placeholder as we speak. And we know sometimes from informal things, some things become formal. So they are not really taking it lightly. What's your take on this?
Well, given the political culture of Nigeria, they are not completely out of place to make such demands. You will agree with me that, like they said, the past president of Nigeria, Yar'Adua, is from Katsina. The incumbent president of Nigeria, Buhari, is also from Katsina. This is Northwest. How come opportunity to become the vice president to Tinubu in Southern? You're also going back to that same state, not even the region, still narrowing it down to that part, Katsina state. So the governors feel that it is, I mean, they played a major role. We all knew what happened